Hello, sumo fans.
Aren't you so excited that we're back?
We have ended the year with a bang.
Best tournament I've seen in as long as I can remember.
Definitely one of the year's best, and we've broken the slump.
It makes up for last tournament too, where Kotozakura and Hoshoryu were like 8 and 7.
They were both 8 and 7. It's a complete turnaround. Lots of good vibes. Congratulations to Kotozakura, as we see here.
They had to go with the cherry blossoms. I mean, the name,
Yep.
This is beautiful. This artwork is amazing.
They always do a good job.
They do. I love it. So, first I'm going to remind all of you that we started doing this on the live streams. So if you were on the live streams, you know what this is about. If you like 42 Opinions, like, comment, and subscribe. Okay. Now on to official business. If you guys would like a bonus, get out of the doldrums because sumo's over live stream, I am willing to do one Wednesday night, but you must comment in the comment section because if I don't have enough interest, I'm not going to do it. So please do that.
With that being said, it is time to talk about our 42. We're going to start at the top, as we always do, with Terunofuji, who sat out November. This was probably one of the first tournaments that we really didn't feel his absence.
Yeah, it was like the changing of the guard had officially begun, and it was almost like they were already Yokozunas.
They're not there yet.
They're not there yet, but they carried on the mantle so that we didn't have to think about the lack.
The level of excitement and the quality of their sumo made it so that we weren't wondering how his knees were.
Right, we weren't like... 12 and 3. How's Terunofuji doing?
So he still has his litany of injuries. He has diabetes. He has every kind of injury you can have, and just as this injuries rack up, as he gets older, it gets harder and harder to build yourself up.
Many people have commented on how his upper body is looking very, very small these days. He's definitely losing it.
Yeah, and as people retire and turn on the track jackets, like they lose that weight, they lose that definition very quickly because you need to really be actively training. And so if Terunofuji's in a position where he can't actively train, he's going to lose the definition, he's going to lose the weight, the stamina.
Well, and the diabetes is making it such that he has to change his dietary habits. So, it's a bad combo for sure.
He is a question mark. Will he ever be back?
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but
if somebody gets the rope in January, that's a whole 2 months away, so no rush on that. There could be a quiet. You can just be like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Quiet quitting.
I feel like he'd want to give it one last shake.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's January. I don't know if that'll be March.
Right. It depends on, does he have some sort of plan where I'm going to take this much time to get my body physically okay and then, give it a go? Or is it, I better hurry up and fight right now because I'm losing it?
Yeah. So it's still a bit of a question mark. I hope for the sake of his health that he doesn't push himself too hard if it's just not there anymore. Right.
And you guys can check out the Issei Gahama now has a YouTube channel, and I have linked it in the community tab. So go to the community tab and you can find it. But he was in that, and there's supposed to be a part 2, so I'm assuming we'll get a little bit more of a look at him. He was kind of off in the background compared to everybody else. So check that out, and maybe we'll get some clues.
I've only seen a couple of those videos myself, but they have a pretty impressive production value.
Yeah. Well, you figure the top stable's got to go top quality. I would hope anyway.
Yeah. So, Terunofuji, hope you're well. Maybe we see him in January. It's a super maybe. And then if he doesn't show up in January, it's March or May.
Right. And we really have to see, like you said, in January, because things are going to happen in January.
It'll be,
either a collapse or triumph.
It's set up to be high stakes.
Yes.
And so now...
If you thought this tournament was crazy.
This was the opposite of crazy, which is why it was crazy.
Right, exactly.
So now we will talk about our Yusho winner, Kotozakura, 14-1. I don't think he's ever gotten a 14-1 before.
No, this is his high score. This is his first Yusho. And Yusho as an Ozeki, which is tough. Like Hoshoryu doesn't have that.
I would say a true Ozeki performance.
Yes.
Which is, Kotozakura has been consistent. He's been strong. We knew he would get here. And now he's here.
We just wondered, like, what would it take? And something fired him up.
So both him and Hoshoryu, I think, definitely had the end of the year. I really need to get this together. November does bring that out of the wrestlers as a whole. So in terms of his sumo wrestling, he was always really strong defense and then would do offense, but it's like it was one or the other. So there were particularly on some of his losses and high stakes in earlier tournaments, you could see like he's going forward, but it felt kind of awkward.
Yes.
Because he knew he had to go forward, and then there would be some hole to exploit. In this tournament, he went from defense to offense fluidly.
Like he was always doing it.
So it was figured out. So the defense is still there. Mm-hmm. So Wakatakakage and Hiradoumi, who were blasting people out, he was able to contain that power. And particularly for these are two people that had upended him earlier this year. And he just completely shut them down. And so when it comes from using the defense to go to offense, the way that he sort of let Onosato come in, extremely risky, and then pivots to throw him out. Which
shows a confidence that we haven't seen from him as well.
That's also a big point.
Mm-hmm. Well, like you said, we knew he was going to get there at some point. He's one of the biggest guys in sumo. Now, we know, and we discuss this a lot, just because you're a big guy does not mean you're going to be successful. So there is a whole other level to this. But the advantage of being so large, once you get the confidence and fight like a big guy, it's yours for the taking. And a couple of things that I noticed in particular was a little bit of anger out there. He was making some faces.
He was fired up.
He had a little bit of extra, like, don't mess with me. A little bit of, I'm going to crush you. And that had been lacking the entire time until this tournament. And I was impressed. I've been dogging him for a while. Yes. I'm not going to say I'm a bandwagoner down. I'm the Kotozakura train. But I was dogging him because I wanted to see this. And he did it.
Yep. So, for both Ozeki, definitely for him, it is now all or nothing in January.
Yes.
I would say to temper your expectations.
I agree.
We may get a 12-3 and 11-4 out of him. This is not the end of the world. There's a big somebody go get it.
Yeah, I mean, for him, this is the first time we've seen this. So this will be the first time he's attempting to be consistently this guy.
Yeah.
It might not happen.
Yeah. So consider he will be going into January with Yusho sickness, which he's never gone through before.
True.
And then the expectation that he needs to win it all again.
And some guys, they fall apart. We're going to really see what kind of man he actually is through this experience.
Yes. So for November, absolutely stellar performance. Some of the best stuff we've ever seen out of him, and sort of taking that hope that we felt when he beat Terunofuji and bringing it forward.
Yep, and just enjoy the end of the year, throw your parties, and get yourself pumped up for the next thing.
So, next up we have Hoshoryu, 13-2. Hoshoryu fans, I'm with you guys. It sucks. He got a 13-2, though. This is really good. And apparently the Deliberation Council said Yusho equivalent.
I was really shocked by that. So that means that both can go on a Yokozuna run in January.
Yeah, so the way I hear this, though, is I think that if Hoshoryu wins it in January, they'll use the Yusho equivalent, but if he gets another Yusho equivalent in January, they're not.
Right, like he has to win it, but he could win it.
He could win it.
So Hoshoryu, in theory, could get to Yokozuna before Kotozakura now.
Well, it's both even in the running. So for Hoshoryu, it all came down to day one. when I saw the rankings and I saw the matchups and I saw that he had his day one curse was still fresh in everyone's mind. He's fighting Oho, a dude who has his number. I'm like, they're really doing him dirty. And what happens on day one?
He dominated.
He came out of there smoking hot.
He was in a mood after September. There's no question. And I'm sure Uncle's little pokes on Twitter about the Mongolian dynasty being over probably didn't help.
It's Hoshoryu just living his best life. Bless you, Hoshoryu.
He's the crazy uncle.
He's a crazy uncle. You know, like, we have hit a point with Hoshoryu that, like, now that we know the Hoshoryu's fine.
Yeah.
Like, go on Twitter all you want.
Like, and we can laugh about it
now. Before we were like, get off of Twitter, Hoshoryu, leave him alone. We're like, let him do it.
It just makes him better.
It's funnier now. So, Hoshoryu, with his signature dynamic sumo, crazy power, crazy defenses, great reflexes. The reversal he did against Wakatakakage is probably one that stands out the most. Mm-hmm. Wakatakakage hits him real fast. He moves faster than the speedy Wakatakakage and pivots into a crazy throw that looked fast in the slow-mo.
Right?
And so that contained super quick. And this was also probably some of Hoshoryu's problems, is that he wasn't able to... He had what I called the fighter input lag, because he knew so much stuff, but he just couldn't figure out what to do at what point.
Like, his mind is moving faster than his body, and so he's almost thinking about the next thing before he's done the thing he needs to do.
Now his body's catching up, and the Onosato win really shows that.
Yes.
The ability to, again, defense. This dude who's just basically a truck in a Mawashi crashes into him, holds at the ends crazy, has the wherewithal to grab the arm and do the reversal on Onosato. That was insane.
It's like only Hoshoryu could pull that off.
Only him.
It does tell you how much of a sumo mind he has to be able to pull that off. And, like, look at the replay. His feet were inside, guys. So that was not one of those sketchy things where there should have been a mono-e. His feet were inside when he pulled the arm.
There was a bit of that this tournament. Of some sketchy mono-e, some not mono-es.
Yeah.
I know Kotoshoho got robbed a couple times.
Well, let's talk about the Abi match, because if that false start doesn't happen, he doesn't have a loss until the final day. Now, Abi still could have beat him. Very possible. Yes. But we'll never know now, because, and you know, I talked about this on the live streams. Abi can't plan for that. Okay, he doesn't know he's not planning like, I'm going to get a false start and the match is going to continue. You can't plan for a false start. The Gyoji really needed to call it. And Hoshoryu, I mean, what can you do? I guess there's nothing he could have done, because even if you're more ready, he wasn't ready. He just wasn't going forward at the time.
What's particularly amusing about that for me is that the ringside judges called mono-es this tournament.
Yeah.
So, you know, on the Gyoji, maybe not. Also on the ringside judges.
That's a good point. Somebody could have done something.
I'm not saying don't blame Abi for this. I'm saying blame Abi for something he did.
Right. I mean, Abi does plenty of things.
Yeah, you've got... Dude, we're going to talk about him.
Yeah, but, you know, going back to Hoshoryu, because Abi makes me think of this, he didn't even do any of his Hanka non-Hanka. He was really in this trying to prove something. I'm the best. I'm going to show you that I'm way better than you've seen from me, and I want to go out and take this thing. And unfortunately, Kotozakura is the immovable object. Hoshoryu, as you were saying, like, he's got all these plans in his head, and he goes for that throw, but now he's off balance. And you could say, oh, he made a mistake, but in another way, it's like he tried to throw an immovable object. What are you going to do? And what was his other plan? Like, throws have worked customarily. So I don't know that it was a mistake. I think it was just he had so much pumping through him that he tried something, and then it's going in reverse now. Like, all the energy is now going against him.
So he almost did land that throw.
I know.
And so...
Give it to Kotozakura for planting his feet.
That is what you should think. People who think that the end throw is a mistake, did you see the other 14 days of this tournament where Hoshoryu was doing that stuff all the time?
And he did it to Kotozakura. Was it last tournament or was it the tournament before?
It was two tournaments. There was definitely one time that he did it and he threw his hip out.
Exactly.
As he threw Kotozakura out.
Right. And the funny part is everybody knew Hoshoryu was going to go for the throw. Because it's the only way to... He cannot blast Kotozakura out. He can't. I mean, maybe if he gets exactly the right positioning, but the throw is the smarter move for him. And it just didn't work. His Kotozakura wasn't having it. It wasn't Hoshoryu.
Yeah, this was...
The slip happened because he got off balance from the throw. It wasn't like, oh, and then he slipped. He was losing it right after the throw, so...
Look, somebody has to lose.
Yeah.
This is the... You can't... It's how much of a crap would it be if at the end of the match they're like, you know what, you're both winners.
Yeah.
No.
The thing that we love about sumo and sports combat in general is... There's the incredible highs and there's the incredible lows. I mean, I felt like I got punched. You should have, if you were watching me live react, I screamed, no! I was, it hurt. And for the whole day, it hurt. But I was still proud of the whole tournament and the fact that it came to the last day, and it was a good match.
It was an exceptional Ozeki level match from both of these guys who...
And who knows, with this now ability for him to actually become Yokozuna in January might be way better for him. He's got to do the work, but
yeah. Well,
think about that.
Some of the same stipulation. So he has the benefit of not having the Yusho pressure and not having as much of an expectation. It's still there. And for both of them now, the key is consistency. You've done this once. Can you do it again?
Right, and that all the greats, that's what made them the greats. The fact that they could go in and do this over and over and over again and not have a problem, that's what these two need to do if they're going to be the future.
Yeah, so we're getting a glimpse of the future now with Hoshoryu. And this is some of the best sumo that he's ever done.
And I knew he was capable of it. I was getting a little irritated when I was reading a bunch of comments before November about he'll never make Yokozuna. I'm like... Do I got to keep picking guys where I hear that? Because I'm getting a little annoyed. He is definitely Yokozuna material, so be quiet. Okay?
Well, I think it's a lot of people frustrated, upset, bereft of hope. Guys, gotta
that's
hold
true.
on to it.
They're in the throes of despair.
They're despairing. This is what
I should feel for them.
Empathize. So, we're talking about January. We're talking about the Kotozakura and Hoshoryu and how they want to get another Yusho. Let me present to you the counter-argument. Onosato.
And the problem.
The problem. So, Onosato comes into November. Shinozeki, always a problem. Yusho sickness, also a problem. Gets a 9-6. His career worst score.
Yeah, that's bad news for the other two guys.
Yep. The last time he got a 9-6, he turned around and won the Yusho next tournament.
Can you imagine, like, we're going to talk about him, but Onosato could come in and just ruin both their dreams.
He could.
So they have to be very wise to that.
And this is what's going to make January so interesting. So there's some interesting things that we found out about Onosato with that 9-6. And that some people are figuring out ways to beat him. And so some of this was nerves. Abi apparently always has his number. Both of the Ozeki were fighting incredibly well. So, like, when an Ozeki beats another Ozeki, it's just a tie level.
Exactly.
There's two matches that were like, ooh, that's interesting. First one was Daieisho, who surprises every single waking person on the earth by going inside on a belt grip.
With, like, a couple of fingers because all of them are broken.
Yes. And Onosato could not get out of that.
That was weird to me.
I think Onosato, there's no way in hell.
He expected it.
Onosato woke up that morning and says, Daieisho's going to go inside.
True.
He was caught out, and then Daieisho, props to him, and by the way, 8-7 on that, forced him out.
Yeah, I think maybe, because once you're upright, there's not much you can do against somebody who's that strong. So it must have just been the element of surprise.
Bit of surprise, but now this is in everyone's head, including his, by the way, so I don't know if this will work again.
Right.
That if you can get in on him, if you can somehow get through
that whole force that he's throwing at you.
Those massive baseball gloves he's aiming at your face. Yeah, maybe you can get him inside, get him upright, and then there's nothing you can do. Also interesting was the very awesome Takanosho, who does angles on him. So he hit him from the side, and then he went around and hit him from the other side. So he's just going back and forth, and he keeps toppling him.
It's funny because that was definitely Takekisho's influence, because I was thinking as I was watching Onosato lose some of these matches, because he had seemed undefeatable. I really wish that we could have seen Onosato when Takekisho was fresher, because one of the things that he's going to be very weak to, if you can get underneath and blast him upright, he's done. He hasn't figured out how to do that. And so Takanosho, he doesn't have that skill that Takekisho had to get underneath so well, but he did that version, which was just kind of pick away like at the different size and topple him over. It's like cutting a tree.
Worth noting that he also lost to Wakatakakage, who his signature style is hitting low.
Right. So you have to hit this man low, and you've got it. And you know what? I think Hoshoryu's got a shot at doing that better than Kotozakura. Just for...
Yeah. So, and again, I'm going to caveat all this with Onosato is somebody who is learning every day. For me, this is probably the most dangerous part of him, is that he goes in, win or loss, and this is, how much of this is Nishonoseki Oyakata, how much of this is just the way he thinks about sumo. But it feels like every time he comes back from a tournament, he's stronger.
And
he's
better. And he's figured out some of those things and fixed them.
He's improving, win or lose. So he has that mindset that even if he gets the Kachikoshi, if he gets the Yusho, he's just like, there's still more to work on. And
he's so new that he will learn every time he fights these guys. Like this tournament, I feel like he'll go back and study it and say, these are the things I need to improve upon. And like you said, last time he was 9-6, he went out and won the Yusho.
Yeah. So this is...
I mean, he is a problem for everybody.
So I am probably looking forward to all three of these Ozeki being in serious contention with each other in January.
The future just looks so great.
It's going to be terrifying.
I had such butterflies at the end of this tournament because it was so hype.
It was good.
And I feel like they're still there because now I get to look forward to January.
January has a lot of hope riding on it. Mm-hmm. And that could be good or bad, but we're not going to know until next year.
Right. I'm glad I have a little time to digest.
Yeah. So Onosato beats the Shinozeki curse. Still looking good. Has some things to work on. And now, let the arms race begin.
I think that final day match against Kirishima was very telling because Kirishima is the type of guy that would have exploited a weakness. And Onosato was almost prepared for it. I'm not going to let this happen to me again. I feel like that's the continuation. January will be the continuation of that last match.
It does feel that way. And because you mentioned him, let's talk about the tragedy of Kirishima.
We always have at least one tragedy.
There's a few. Such as the nature. When you have a 14-1, a 13-2, a 9-6, a 10-5, a 10-5, 11-4. When you have a lot of people up here that have some good records, someone's going to take it on the chin.
Yep.
So for Kirishima, it was these first 5 days. He was not there.
Yeah, who knows what the slow start was about.
And because once he woke up in the middle, Kirishima was back. Mm-hmm. And so something happened in the beginning and then something near the end. Now, near the end, he was fighting Hoshoryu and Onosato. Those are... And
Gonoayama was having the best tournament of his career.
Gonoayama. So he was losing to power in a way that he had already fixed. Mm. He loses to Gonoayama and he loses to Daieisho in a very similar manner in that they overwhelm him. Mm-hmm. That's not prime Kirishima. No, Ozeki Kirishima deals with that. Ozeki Kirishima finds angles, has a strategy. Gets him at the edge. I still remember the Kirishima Daieisho playoff that Kirishima beats Daieisho, letting him come forward, slaps him down at the edge, and then in the playoff beats him the exactly same way. And we expected to see some of that. But and that was not there. So, unfortunately, he technically he just needed a Kachikoshi to keep the Ozeki hopes alive, air quotes. Even an 8-7 means if you get 13 wins, maybe they let you back in. Right, they would hold him. But once he hit Makakoshi, obviously that was the Ozeki run done. And when he got 6-9, now he's out of Sanyaku.
Right. Now he's going to... We don't know anymore with the Banzuke committee how they're going to treat him. They could be nice to him, or they could be really mean to him if they want to.
I think a 6 and 9 he's gone. I think a 7 and 8 maybe you get Kamasubi.
Yeah.
Something else to keep in mind is that you've got like 3 or 4 people that
deserve the spot,
that are Sanyaku worthy.
We know it's not Shodai.
No, he's the other slot that's going to be vacant. But it is unfortunate that it sort of crumbles down like that, particularly off the 12 and 3. And yet another reminder that Sekiwake is no fun.
Yeah, and the truth is, like, Kirishima, it might be kind of early to say this, but it's just the feeling I have. I don't think he can compete with these top 3 guys. Whatever's going on with him, like, he needs a major fix of something.
There's a mental... Now, it could still be some physical, but also when you have certain injuries...
That messes with your sumo.
It messes with your sumo. So, like, he may be good enough to fight, and in the middle week, he showed that he was fine. He looked great. These 4 wins right here, including one against Takanosho, who was doing very well. Like, that was him fighting the way we remember. I feel like some of it may be mental. Maybe there's a distraction.
Right.
Maybe he's just sort of in his own head.
Right, just trying to push himself so hard to keep the Ozeki alive, and the opposite happens sometimes.
Yep. So he's starting to fight nerves, and again, getting the Ozeki is freaking rough.
Yeah.
And being in the Sanyaku is no fun. Mm-hmm. And good news for Kirishima fans, if he's at Megashira 1-2,
he'll be okay.
He's got about 5 gimmies coming his way in January.
Right.
Wait,
so he can start again.
Rebuild. Now, this is something that also is what happens when you're in Sanyaku, is that you have one bad tournament, you fall out, you rally, you go back. And it's the rallying and going back that's like, once you keep the persistence, then you can't go away. Maybe he'll go back. But for now, he's off the burner. He's just simmering now. It's unfortunate. So, talking about how Sanyaku and Sekiwake is such a problem, Daieisho makes it look easy.
Daieisho, he is just growing on me. He was already there, but he just grows on me every tournament.
Years ago, I know we were talking about, I think this was me. I was just like, I love seeing Daieisho in Kamasubu, but it's never going to stick. He's just the dark horse. That's the way it was. Yeah. 2021, 2022.
And now he's just got so much more experience and grit that you can't get rid of him.
He's the mainstay. He is the rock holding this. He was the Takanosho, the Mitakeumi of Daieisho. And that he's there. He's staying there.
I like him a little bit more than those guys, though, because you can see in every match, like, the attitude is, I'm not going to lose. Even if he loses, the attitude until he's out is, I'm not losing. And it's very infectious.
It's hard. I can't think of a reason to hate him, really. He's just, there's a purity to Daieisho.
Yes.
And like you said, it's just like, he's going in there, he's there to fight, he's there to scrap. He's not going to let you win. He's beatable, as the 8 and 7 shows. But
he doesn't care who you are.
No, he doesn't. He throws down. He almost got Hoshoryu out. It was really close. That was the episode. That was the episode. That was the match where, like, Hoshoryu comes in, Daieisho deflects him. Hoshoryu goes in again. He deflects him the second time.
And I was getting nervous.
It was only because Hoshoryu was so dialed in.
Yes.
The reflexes were there. I feel like that would have beaten a Hoshoryu from an earlier tournament.
Agreed.
That's how close that loss to Hoshoryu was.
That would have beaten September Hoshoryu.
Easily. So Daieisho still in it. Again, the upset Onosato win.
He did exactly what he needed to. Stay in.
He did. So the 8 and 7, I'm gonna put my Ozeki hopes for him on hold for a little bit, but I am growing to love the Sanyaku Daieisho.
Yeah, messing up people's tournaments.
And again, I point to Wakamotoharu and Abi, and Daieisho's gone through this himself. You get that one bad tournament, you fall out, but he's right back up.
Well, the day that he beat Onosato was significant for Onosato's tournament. Like, that wasn't just a Onosato who was kind of already out of it. I think at that point he was still in the Yusho race.
He would have been 7 and 2
Yeah.
And then he gets that third loss because he was one behind the pace.
Yep.
They were both had 1 losses, and Onosato was sort of chomping at their heels. And then this loss here throws him off.
Mm-hmm.
And then Takanosho does his crazy angles, and now Onosato is staring at.
Like no matter what, he's out of the Yusho race.
So now he gets the Kachikoshi. I thought it was going to be 8-7.
Yeah.
Because of the way that he was sort of falling apart, but then he gets it. To his credit, he gets it back on the last day against Kirishima. But Daieisho, bless him. He also gave us some nice brawls. Whenever the other push fighters get in there, some good stuff.
Know that it's just going to be like slap, punch, it's almost like punches. You're seeing these slaps, but you feel like you're watching a boxing match.
Well, I mean, if you hit somebody, I'm pointing at my palms if you can see it, but if you hit them like with the bottom of the palm and it just lines up with the rest of your arm, it's
a punch.
It's a punch.
Yeah.
An open hand punch.
Exactly.
Anyway, well done, Daieisho. Gonna be looking forward to him spoiling in January.
January is a good time for him.
It's a good time for him, yes. That was his U-show, wasn't it?
That was his U-show. So the plot thickens.
Getting better every moment. So, Wakamotoharu 10-5. You would forget that about 4 to 6 months ago, he had that toe injury. He wasn't himself. He looked lost. And then this tournament right here, it's like he never left. It's like the 6 months of trial and broken toe didn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, really, the only match that you really questioned was Shodai. Like, Shodai, I mean...
Shodai, when Shodai wants to fight,
true,
he does well. He wanted to fight 4 times this tournament.
And those are the best 4 matches for him.
Technically, well, we'll get to Shodai in a minute, but for Wakamotoharu, double-digit wins in Kamasubi is a very good sign. He did it all in his signature style, the grappling, the reversals.
He pretty much beat everybody he needed to, like, that he would be expected to beat.
Yes. So, again, good point is that here's Kotozakura, here's Onosato, and here's Hoshoryu. So
right.
3 of his 5 losses were against Ozeki.
Right, and he's not an Ozeki yet, so he's kind of doing what is expected instead of beyond.
Yeah. So this is, I don't want to put the hex on him. 10-5 may be the start of something resembling an Ozeki run. And towards your point, he's beating all the people that he needs to in order to show that this is going to be consistent.
Right, and then he's going to go up into the Sekiwake spot. He's going to face these guys again. Maybe he has a better plan the next time. Progress is important.
The X factor of his brother.
Yes.
Now in full effect because they were both fighting the same opponents, and they're both now going to be Sanyaku brothers.
Right, which we've been waiting a long time for.
Which is very exciting for many reasons, but that's got to give you something.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of fighting with your brother, you train all the time together, and then you're going to come in and you're going to face each other's opponents. The exact same. And it might even be like each day, like Wakamotoharu fights this guy and Wakatakakage fights this guy, and then they just swap.
Yeah, over dinner they compare notes.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're going to come in. That's another X factor for January. They're going to come in as a duo. And that's going to be really...
Guys, January's talking a big game.
Oh, man,
we're
is it
sitting
ever.
Here. Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of this is just because November was so fun. We're just coming off the high still.
We're still like, yay!
We're still giddy about it, bouncing in our seats.
January comes and we're like, everything sucks.
It's going to be cold and nasty. We'll see.
Exactly.
But anyway, very well done, Wakamotoharu. So, Kamasubi won West. This tournament was Shodai. And he scored 4-11. I do not think anyone was surprised by this.
No, but people were also wondering, after the first 3 days, if he was just going to like win all the rest because this is how Shodai is.
That would be very Shodai.
Yeah.
So I was mentioning, there is game time Shodai where he beats, like you said, Wakamotoharu. He beats all 4 of the people that he beat were pretty high level contenders. When he fought Kirishima and Kotozakura, he was fighting them. Like, he put a good effort in.
Right.
Put some pressure on.
Right. He didn't turn off for the big matches.
So those could have been. Those were like game time Shodais that he loses, which is a little unfortunate for him because then he does the Eeyore face.
Right. He immediately gets depressed when he puts in effort and doesn't win.
And he's like, oh man, I wanted that one.
I guess I stink. I'm gonna stop now.
There was a off-time Shodai, who you hit him and he just doesn't do anything. It happens.
You're just like, ugh.
There was a moment when he was fighting Atamifuji that Atamifuji had him up against the ropes. Shodai starts resisting, and then there's this moment that he feels like, what's good enough? And then Atamifuji just pushes him over from there.
And Atamifuji's just kind of looking at him like, you all right, man?
So there's a larger discussion about, like, if you know you're beat, if you know there's no way back, you just preserve yourself. He's past veteran age, which is something that took me
how
by
old
surprise.
is he?
He's in his 30s. He's 33.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he might be a little bit more sensitive to, I'm not going to hurt myself in a match that I've already lost.
That this snuck up on me because I still thought Shodai was early 30s,
right?
Like late 20s, but no, he's on the other side of that hill.
So this is economical Shodai.
So that's something that took me by surprise.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something to keep in mind with your Shodai math, but I mean, Shodai math is kind of useless because Shodai does whatever the hell he wants anyway.
Exactly. There is no Shodai math.
No Shodai math. So, well, in any case, I still love Shodai.
Everybody loves Shodai in their own way. Like, you see him and you smile. It might not be for the reasons that are necessarily good, but you smile.
You smile. So, bless you, Shodai.
You're going far down.
Well, yeah.
I feel like
there's going to be a vacuum in the upper division a little bit. We'll see what happens. We got to do that Banzuke math later, and
we're not going to look at anybody's predictions because we want ours to be fresh and bizarre. So,
well, he's no longer going to be Kamasubi. That much I can guarantee.
Yes, don't keep him in the spot.
Don't keep him in that spot. All right. So, we are now out of Sanyaku. We're going to be talking about Oho, who is 6-9. There are a number of wrestlers who fought a lot better than their record would have you believe, and Oho was one of them.
Yes.
He was fighting in every match. He was in every match, maybe even just for a couple seconds, but he was in there. He is a guy who is not giving an inch. That alone is an improvement from an Oho from last year, who sometimes looked lost or confused. Like, now he's dialed in.
Right, now he's dialed in, but the unfortunate thing for him is these guys are just better than him. So, like you said, he was in all these matches, but he's not quite there yet. But he's so young. We cannot forget this.
He is super duper young.
So if we have the progress, that's what matters. Like, the funk I was in about Oho was just, what's he doing out there? Like, he's not doing anything that looks better. He's not winning important matches. He's doing some Shodai moments. Like, he's too good for this. And so even though it's a 6-9, the effort shows that something is there.
There was a lot of spirit. Also, Kotozakura was 14-1. Mm-hmm. That's the one.
Yeah.
Oho's the only guy who got dirt on Kotozakura this entire tournament.
Because, he didn't get to do it to Hoshoryu, so he's like, well, I got to go some Ozeki hunting.
Yep. The Kotozakura and the Kirishima, these two wins right here, it was all grit, power, forward drive, sumo spirit. Mm-hmm. Like, that combination of stuff is like, that's the winning formula for Oho. It's just, he's at this level, that's not enough. So
yeah, he's got to amp it up.
So he fights Wakamotoharu and Shodai. These two right here, this was a game time Shodai. These are two matches where these are people with a plan. And these are people that know how Oho fights. And so all the sumo God's blessing in the universe is not going to help you against the guy who has a good throw and can counter you.
Right.
That is what Oho now needs to work on.
He needs to become that guy.
So Oho here is showing a lot of progress, and really the only reason that he got that 6-9 is that it just the skill level isn't quite at his level of passion.
Right, and here's the thing though, Oho's got to be affected by the fact that Hoshoryu is now going to go on a Yokozuna run. Onosato is brand new. He's got the legacy sumo life.
Yep, he's the Taiho guy.
Why can't he have it too? That's got to be in the back of his mind. Like, why can't I have... And then one day he tells himself, I can have. And that's when we're going to see a different level of Oho. is when he sort of owns his skill, increases it. I mean, there's things he's got to work on.
Still got to work.
But he also has to have that mental thing of, I'm going to do this. That's the difference for Kotozakura this tournament. He was like, you could see it. I'm doing this. Like, get out of my way. Hoshoryu was always like that. Oho needs to get like that and, work on it as well.
So this 6-9, I look at this from Oho and I'm like, he's working through it.
Yep.
There's progress. You can see him in the future, at least in Sanyaku.
Oh, definitely.
The way that, like, this kind of performance.
I mean, how far do you think he's going to drop down at a 6-9?
Like a sheer 3. It's not going to be far.
So it'll be very similar.
Yeah, he's not. He's still going to be fighting almost all the same matches. With maybe he'll get a couple like M8s. That's going to be a nice confidence booster, and that would be the 8 and 7.
Right. There's the difference right there.
Future's looking good for Oho. So this one sucks. Hiradoumi.
Totally.
Making sure everyone was 4-11. So I'd mentioned before, when all these people have really good records, when everybody's fighting really well, everyone's A game. Someone's got to eat it.
Yeah.
This tournament, it was Hiradoumi. And that sucks because it's been one bad thing after another for him.
And he really fought hard all 15 days. He did everything you could ask for, and you want that person to be rewarded, but every match, somebody was either a little bit stronger than him or something went wrong. This was not his tournament.
Yeah. So the Wakamotoharu fight and the Chiranoumi fight on the last day, both of these was exploding Tachiai, guy cannot deal. Most of these other days, he still had that Tachiai. It's just people knew what to do with it. Right. We're at a level where, again, everybody's game was dialed up in November. Yeah. They were almost fighting above their normal potential. There was that kind of energy in the air. Yes. And so for Hiradoumi, his power was just shut down. Right. I will give him and Ura props for the double Torinaushi fight.
The fans that day got their money's worth.
Oh, man.
And the crazy thing about that fight, and we'll talk a little bit more when we get to Ura, was that the third match was actually the best one. That never happens.
No. And this is the point that I wanted to make for Hiradoumi, is that he went into all three of those matches 100%. Mm-hmm. And then he got the Torinaushi, and then he dug a little deeper and still went in 100%. 3 matches of just, he didn't tire out. He wanted it. And they had the camera when he was out in the ring, and he does that, he does the Shodai. Uh-huh. And I'm like, he wanted it.
That was an example of some of the unfortunate stuff that happened to him.
It's just, again, we all have bad tournaments. Right. Sometimes it's not gonna be in your control. The unseen hand of fate. Right. It comes down upon you. So, again, good news for Hiradoumi. How do you think he's gonna fare against Sadanoumi or Tamawashi?
Is Sadanoumi even going to stay in this? Or is he going to go to Juryo?
He's in... Anyway. Well, my point is...
The point is when he goes and fights these lower rankers, he should be well qualified.
He's going to demolish them. So January, he's going to eat well. It's just that he got slapped around a little bit. So he regroups, he refocuses, he has a good January, and then he's back here. Yes. That's the hope. Speaking of hope, Wakatakakage,
who I had picked to win the whole Yusho, which, I had to pick somebody that wasn't Hoshoryu. 10-5, not bad.
10-5, not bad. That'll get him a ticket back to Sanyaku, back to where he belongs, I think is the big thing that he showed this tournament. Up until this point, Wakatakakage was lower, and then he was a little higher, and so he was still fighting like the way we remember, maybe even a little better, but there was always that asterisk of...
But you used to be Sanyaku.
Of course you're going to do well down here. Or it's just like, half your matches were easy. Like here, he did not have easy matches. And he got a 10-5.
Yeah, definitely, though, he's got to be feeling a little frustrated or overwhelmed because this is the first time in quite some time that he was facing all these guys. And they've just gotten so much better while he was gone. Like, Hoshoryu is way better. They used to be pretty even, and Hoshoryu has leapfrogged him, Now, Kirishima, not necessarily. So, but I feel like Wakatakakage is probably going back, even with that 10-5, and feeling a little bit of like, I have to up my game.
This is his takeaway, is that once he gets into Sanyaku, now it's go time.
It's on.
You've got to bring it. He is evolving his game a little bit. Mm-hmm. When he fought against Hiradoumi actually was getting the better of it, so we knew to immediately transition. This was part of Hiradoumi's problem. He would win on these power, then people had a plan B.
Yep.
For Wakatakakage, that wasn't always the case. So he's learning some stuff from his brother.
Yeah, that's true.
He's learning how to move backwards. He's learning how to do these pivot throws. When he gets Oho also gets the better of him. Hasn't driven back. He does a very Wakamotoharu style reversal at the edge.
That's the nice thing about being able to train together.
Yes. So my hope for Wakatakakage, not only to see the 10-5 up here, the matches that we wanted to see out of him, the kind of sumo that we knew he could do, we're seeing that there's more angles to his game. Because when he was at that Sekiwake slot, he was sort of doing that nearly Ozeki dance.
Yeah.
Where he got a Yusho, but he just couldn't get that 33. Something always went wrong. He's working on the things that went wrong a little bit. Now, your point of the top division and the tippity top of the top division being really murderously good is still true. I want to see what he does with that.
Right. He's the type of guy who A, will not give up, and B, will strategize, will come up with plans. He knows these guys very well. I mean, he knows Kirishima and Hoshoryu way better than Kotozakura. But, like, he knows them. So this isn't him going in blind. He's just got to regroup and, hey, say to his brother, come on, we're gonna try for these guys.
Yes. So the Waka brothers, both of them, will be going in January as Sanyaku with something to prove.
This is really turning into like a fighting anime at this point.
Kind
You
of.
have so much variety of fighters, and it's like they're doing some sort of like tournament to win a special prize, and you don't know which one of the special guys is going to pull it off.
This is the secret sauce as to why November was so exciting. Like the level of hype. Now, obviously, the Ozeki fighting on the final day for all the marbles, like that was the dream that we've collectively all had for some time.
Yes.
But the fact that we're through Sanyaku, working our way down the Banzuke, and there's still this level of excitement and investment.
You just don't know like who's going to be the next one to.
This is the kind of thing that we needed. There was always the level of here's the good people and then here's the sort of good people. Like now that good people list is big now.
Right, exactly. And we had this discussion maybe about a year ago where people were talking about these new guys aren't as good as the old guys. Like they'll never be Yokozuna potential and all this. Here's the fact. Once all the old guard is gone, all that's left is the new guard. And out of the new guard, who becomes the Yokozuna? We're not going to ever see, like some of these guys face Hakuho. It's done. The page is turned.
Yes.
So after a while, you just sort of acclimate. And then if these guys are so good, they'll bring up the level of everybody else. You need your guys at the top to control everything. And so we're getting there. And we're going to get a bunch of really strong fighters out of this.
Yes, it's forming the picture.
Yep.
We're getting to the new dynasty.
The 5-year plan.
Yes. The transition is starting to end.
Yes, they're starting to own it.
So Wakatakakage, well done. Good to see him fighting the top dogs and making a good show of it.
Absolutely.
So, Darling Ura, the score almost doesn't matter.
It never does.
But it was a 5 and 10. So I will say, here's Daieisho. Here's Wakamotoharu. Here's Hoshoryu. Here's Kotozakura. Here's Onosato. Here's Wakatakakage. He got all of the rough people.
And we know, and Ura knows, that he's not that caliber fighter to beat all of them. He could beat one.
He beat a couple. Here's Kirishima. Say what you want about his lack of being there. He's still Sekiwake.
Right, exactly.
So, unfortunately for Ura, he fought a lot of people who know to contain him. He's up to no good. And so we actually didn't see a lot of what I'll say Ura-style matches. I mean, and then we got Hiradoumi and we got 3 of them.
Exactly. And what really impressed me about that match? Ura, in particular, was way better than the first 2 matches, and he didn't look tired at all.
The both of them went in with a deep gas tank, and so like.
Can you imagine any other two fighters fighting 3 matches and having that much energy in the third match?
It was shocking.
It was very shocking. I'm like, okay, this is the secret to Ura, is that he actually doesn't need to breathe.
It might be.
He might actually be an alien from outer space.
Bless him. So there was a period of time, I'm not saying that period has passed, where Ura was starting to show some for real potential.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, maybe he will do more than touch Sanyaku. This is sort of tempering that for the time being. But good news, like I said for Hiradoumi, Ura gets low enough, that bag of tricks comes right back out.
How old is Ura? I have some theories about Ura, and we'll see. Well, we won't know until he retires, but...
32.
Okay, so Ura's 32, with 2 completely busted knees. I'm guessing... and Ura would never say it, that maybe he just has tournaments where he physically feels better than others.
I'd believe that.
Like, almost like what happens with Takarafuji, because most certainly that's what happens with Takarafuji. He might just wake up in a tournament and be like, ooh, things don't feel good this tournament, but he goes out and gives it his all. Then he gets a good rest and things go kind of his way, and then he wakes up in one tournament, he's like, wow, I actually feel good, and then things start to happen. So there could be a level of that between the age and the serious injury.
I think that would be true for all wrestlers. So for Ura, the thing is that Ura just masks it really well.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he is so good at hiding everything. Like, if he's tired, we don't know. If he's hurt, we don't know. He smiles after every match, win or lose. I mean,
He does.
I hear he's very talkative. So when he retires, we're gonna get crazy stories someday.
He's gonna have fun interviews.
Yeah, like I'm gonna be seeking them out.
Yeah, I will say so. I believe that you are onto something with this, but for Ura fans who may be a little depressed, keep in mind that 7 of these 10 losses were Sanyaku or Ozeki.
Exactly.
So that just means he's not Sanyaku level, which is something we never really wanted to put on Ura anyway. So again, good news. He's not going to be fighting nearly as many of those next tournament. So expect some 9 and 6s out of his January performance and more crazy throws. He did not read. He didn't really have the opportunity to go nutso.
Right. A lot of people just kind of stuffed him. And, that kills the motivation if you have enough matches like that too.
So Ura's still good. We still love him to pieces. And he'll be back in January with some crazy stuff. So look forward to it. So we were talking about him before. Abi, 11-4.
That Abi.
He fought really well. Say what you want about the Henkas.
Everybody knows Abi's going to Henka.
Well, now Takarafuji knows.
Welcome,
welcome to the club, Takarafuji. Welcome to Top Division.
Yeah.
And
you should see his interview after this. It was very telling.
Say what you want about the Mata not Mata against Hoshoryu, but also keep in mind he beats Onosato. Nobody contests that.
Right, and this is the second time he's done it.
He was in the Yusho race. So there is still that nursing. I think the worst thing for Abi is being in Sanyaku.
Yeah, but what's interesting was that Onokatsu match, man. That must have killed him inside.
Something mentally just didn't work for him that day because he wasn't fighting like he normally was, and Onokatsu should have been in his bag. Onokatsu takes a little while, and he needs the belt.
Yeah,
should have been pretty easy pickings for Abi. Abi just
had a lapse. Yeah,
he lapsed, and this is some of Abi's issues. But seeing a lot of Sanyaku wins also. Here's Shodai, say what you want. Here's Kirishima. Here's Daieisho. Here's Wakatakakage, honorary Sanyaku. He's beating the people you need to beat.
In that Wakatakakage match, I'm pretty sure that's the one where Abi blasted him out and he falls to the ground so hard and Abi didn't even go check on him.
Abi's just like, eh.
We've had a whole tournament of when somebody hits out hard, checking on him, picking him up. Abi literally turned his head and went to his spot I don't even want to see you. I don't care if you're hurt. And that was a little whoa, Abi, okay.
He was
Dark Abi showed up.
Look, any form of Abi I like.
I agree.
So it's he fights clean. He does that the purity of push sumo. You're like, good Abi. So Case in point, Hiradoumi. Again, I keep saying this. It's so bad for Hiradoumi. Wins the Tachi, has Abi going backwards. Abi is able to see the rope through the back of his head, circles perfectly, pushes against the steam train Hiradoumi with one leg, then pivots and throws him while, again, on one leg, doing gymnastics to get the win.
And I was thinking to myself, Abi, you could do a few more throws. It would really throw people off.
He's got that potential.
Yeah, but some people just hate his guts.
Well, then he Henka's Terunofuji.
Yeah.
And then
everyone's like, oh, I can't stand you. I love it. I love this Jekyll Hyde Abi. It's so entertaining.
It's so good. So he is probably taking the other Sanyaku slot that's been vacated by Kirishima.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Abi's biggest problem is that Sanyaku pressure.
Right. All of a sudden, you expect him to fall apart.
He can't wrap his mind around it. But then you see fights like this. He's fighting almost the same people that he would have been if he was Komusubi. But it's just there's some mental click that seems to be his holding back. So if Abi can get a hold on that, if Abi wakes up one day and just like, you know what? I am a Komusubi. You know what? I'm not gonna take this crap. I'm gonna go Henka Hoshoryu on the last day in front of everybody and grin like I'm a madman.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of thing he needs.
Absolutely.
So, well, in any case, well done with an 11-4. I believe he got a special prize for his trouble. Yes, outstanding performance for beating two of the Ozeki. Say what you want.
Some people were worried that he wouldn't get it if Hoshoryu didn't win the Yusho, but it was already decided before.
Yeah, it was decided. The only one that was conditional was Takanosho's, and he got that. And then Takanosho, Wakatakakage, and Abi all got special prizes. Well deserved. So, well done, Abi. We'll see him in Sanyaku. I am once again going to be looking forward to how he handles the pressure. Also, more good news. More good news for the cult of Atamifuji. He got it on the last day.
And it was looking pretty dicey in the middle of this tournament.
Here, this is... Let me show you the trials of Atamifuji eventually. Look at this. Look at this. 7-8. 7-8. 7-8.
Wow.
So rough. 8-7. He got it.
And he had an 8-7 right before that.
He got an 8-7 right beforehand. But I think he was 8-7 and then he loses it near the end, which is...
So that interview from Issei Hamabeya that I put in the community tab, he talked about how rough of a year it was and how he was just sort of relieved to end on this note and just start again. And that's really, that 8-7 allows him to do that.
Yeah, so he's starting to show the blueprint for success. Like for Atamifuji, the issue always seemed to be like the aggression or how to translate his power because he's a big guy. And he was doing some Kotozakura-esque, you can't move me, so I'm going to win eventually. But what he did this tournament was aggressive inside. He's smothering people, and he's getting low enough to push them up as they're going back. And that was the key to a lot of his wins. And I think if he really refines that to the point that, like, just like, I will get inside, and you will be forced out, and there is nothing you can say about it, that kind of sumo, he's Sanyaku.
Mm-hmm.
He's almost there.
Now, the osteoarthritis situation, like, there was one match, I can't remember which one it was, that he lost, and people were, like, really getting on him, like, he doesn't seem like he cares. I wonder how much the osteoarthritis is an issue. Like, is the reason he's struggling physically being hurt?
So, probably. Something else to keep in mind is that 6 of these 7 losses, Sanyaku or Ozeki.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Onosato. Here's Hoshoryu. Here's Kotozakura. Here's Wakamotoharu. Here's Kirishima. Here's Abi, honorary Sanyaku. It's a similar problem that happens when you get this far up, is that you need to start beating the people above you.
Right.
This is his problem now. It says now he's beating. Well, he does get one on Daieisho, which is nice, but he's able to beat the people around him.
Right.
He's able to beat the people below him. This is why Atamifuji's been staying here, by the way. Why he's been holding, which is
right. He's better than the people who are equal to him.
Yes, So he is showing himself to be the king of the top 5. Then it's the pivot. How do you get a win off of Kirishima? How do you get the win off of Kotozakura? He figures this out. It's that little extra nudge up.
Right.
And that's where the drive comes in. You know, how do you get inside? How do you translate the power? This is what he's working through. I think he's got a good team of people at Isegahama Bay. I'm not sure. Maybe somebody there can help him do that.
Right. And that's the thing, is he does have all of that wealth of knowledge.
So I'm...
Excuse me, folks.
I'm hopeful for it.
Yeah, I think if the physical thing isn't the issue, he's going to get through this. Now, there might be some things that can be done about the osteoarthritis, like maybe if he loses a little weight or if there's a certain medication or something. That's the X factor for me, you know. But we'll see. I mean, he's fighting tough, and he's got all the right people telling him what to do.
We're starting to see the results. Again, like if these are the matches that you want to pay the closest attention to in the future for Atamifuji. When he fights Sanyaku, when he fights Diozeki, if he starts winning those, that he's in.
Exactly.
He's in. All right. And so I will wish him good luck. Next up, we have Megashira 4. I always love it when East and West have something related.
Yes.
For talking points. What is interesting about Chiranoumi and Oshoma is that they have the same score, but there's a completely different feel.
Agreed.
So for Chiranoumi, his 4-11, you look at that and you're like, he didn't fight like a 4-11.
No, he tried really, really hard.
He fought like a 7-8. Like still on the lesser end, and we found his ceiling. It was going to happen eventually.
Of course.
He was trying spirited, powerful fighting throughout. It's just too high up.
Yeah.
So he gets into all sorts of fights. Also, like, he's fighting a lot of people on their own terms. He does parrying with Tobizaru. He goes on a bout with Kotozakura. Kotozakura was like almost frustrated because he had Chiranoumi. He was bent over, awkward angle, but he's just like, no, I'm not going anywhere. And Kotozakura like had to figure something out. So he's putting pressure on these people. And also Daieisho and Kotoshoho, it turns into a brawl.
Which, you know, you can only just appreciate that every time it happens. Because that's not as common in sumo as it used to be like 7 years ago. And so it's like refreshing when it comes back.
Yeah, so he is showing that tactical mind followed up by sort of a Daieisho-esque never say die, which is a fascinating combination, particularly for the new old veteran kind of a deal. So I was love watching all of his fights. It's sort of gut punching that it was a 4-11 at the end of the day. But you feel like you sort of give some of those matches a redo. Maybe he wins a couple more of those.
Right, exactly.
So very interested to see what happens to Chiranoumi. Also, when he gets slapped down, like, you feel like he's coming back.
Right, especially because he gained all this experience by fighting these guys. Fighting these lower rankers should be like, it's a piece of cake.
Yeah, so I feel like this is the building moment. And this is the pattern. Like when Koto Echo was making his late resurgence before he completely fell away, like he hit this wall a couple times. And then when he went back down there, it looks like he was figuring some things out. This is just what happens when you get to this phase, is that the top 5 just smacks you right down, and then you got to get your notepad out and you're like, okay, how do I fix this? For Chiranoumi, I feel like he's going to fix it. I feel like he's going to get back to the drawing board and be like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this. And he's going to go do it. It's going to be great.
Exactly. And, you know, everybody seems to love Chiranoumi. His spirit is very infectious.
Yes.
He tries and he thinks, and he never gives up. He's not like fiery per se, but still the effort is there.
He's just always there. That's how it is. So I'm looking forward to more. I feel like he can give us more. And so don't let it get you down, Chiranoumi. This was a good 4-11.
Exactly. And he's so high up that it's okay. He's not
okay.
going to Juryo.
Oh my God, no, we're not even there. So on the flip side, we have Oshoma's 4-11. And again, on paper, it's the same score. The Banzuke is probably going to treat them more or less the same. But you saw Oshoma and you thought, you're out of your depth.
And you know what? I can't explain it to you, but the match with Ura made me really dislike Oshoma. Like, I'm not looking for a reason to dislike people, but the way he was doing it, the way he was placing his hand on Ura, he was acting almost like, oh, I know how to figure you out. Like, all the other people who've ever fought you, they're just not as clever as me. And it felt very bullyish. And I had this disdain for that type of fighting that I'm like, you know what? Take your 4-11 and learn something.
This is why I'm interested in what both of these people do with it. Oshoma does have a very bully fighting style.
He sure does, and I didn't notice it until...
This is what the thing is that lower down, because he pushes down, he uses his size very well, which there are some people, they don't fight their size. He's also really good at moving back and on angles. It was fascinating. Day one, he fights Tobizaru, and it all clicks to me. I'm just like, he's just a tall, more awkward Tobizaru. But the thing is that Tobizaru, and we'll be talking about him next, if Tobizaru has like a dozen different tricks he can do. So right. Tobizaru will do the pushing, will do the parrying, will do the
and sort of back, like the grabbing at you.
But then if that doesn't work, Tobizaru just goes to something else.
Right.
For Oshoma, he doesn't have that yet. So a lot of people are seeing him push down or seeing him pulling or seeing him trying to do angles, and they're like, if you don't want to go forward, that works for me. I want to go forward. And,
right, exactly.
And this is why a lot more of his matches that he lost were one-sided.
Well, the interesting thing, too, about the Ura matches, so he's pushing his head down, and Ura just sort of, like, grabs his belt with, like, 2 fingers and twists him down. Mm-hmm. So, to me, it's like you were saying, Oshoma doesn't have what Tobizaru has, and I think he got a little cocky getting up here so fast. Yeah. He had a couple of really good tournaments leading up to this one.
Yeah, to his credit, his brand of sumo got him here very quickly, and he dealt with the Makakoshi that he had before very well. He rebounded from it.
Right.
So he has the confidence, he has the physique, and he has enough skill to get him here.
Right.
There's nothing anybody can say to take that away from him. He also has some pretty solid defenses. So Takanosho and Atamifuji did get the better of him, but he made them work for it. But now the flip side is a lot of people, particularly the Ozeki, just like wrote a book of all the ways to beat him and then just handed it to Oshoma.
Right, because in particular, Hoshoryu and Kotozakura have now ascended to the point where they're like, I can't lose to any more of these guys I shouldn't lose to. So now they're paying more attention if you're somebody that might give them a little trouble. Now you unfortunately have a target on you, and they're like, what do you got?
So Oshoma, there's also some similarities to Shonanoumi, but Shonanoumi works forwards and backwards, which is something that's good for him. I am very interested to see what Oshoma does from here.
Agreed.
If he gets his mojo going, if he learns his skills, if he figures out, a new quiver for the bow, whatever platitude you want to use, he'll be back.
Right.
If he can't,
then he gets forgotten like so many others.
M4 is as high as he'll ever get. So next up, we just mentioned him, Tobizaru, 9-6. The flying monkey flies again. So this is what we were hoping for. Well, Tobizaru fans were hoping for.
Yeah, there's some people who were not hoping for this.
So
but
take it how you will. I make it my mission to be a fan of every single person in the top division. I know that is not an opinion that many people share. Anyway.
But that's good, because that means you actually have a unique opinion.
Yeah, well, I guess, yes. My opinion of everybody's nice, which is, well, larger discussions to be had about how that's stupid, but that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about Tobizaru now.
That's
right. So he was back to his parrying ways, using angles, slapping people. Multiple times he did the jazz hands attack, which was hilarious.
I love the jazz hands.
So what he will do is, so Nishikigi, he did this too, and multiple times people would disengage from Tobizaru. Yeah. Put him at a disadvantage because he needs to get back in then. And then he would lean forward, like with his hands shaking while sort of grasping forwards very slowly.
Almost to like throw them off, like what's he going to do?
Yeah, so as the end result, like it looks like he's putting up like he's trying to like stop traffic, which is
It's
just
funny.
hilarious out of context. So he had some also really fun back and forths. There was exciting matches and also matches that sort of went on. Chiranoumi, Kotoshoho, he seems to have Ura's number, but I love to see those two fight anyway.
Yeah.
Because again, something in November elevated his ability to find and exploit angles on people, which is back to his old tricks.
Well, I feel like Tobizaru never stops working, like mentally working the angles. Like he's always like, what am I going to do next? Like, how am I going to, and like we saw, he actually pulled off a throw. So
yeah,
you know, I think the guy just never stops.
Yeah, he's got a massive work rate, and there are some people that they just couldn't keep up with it. I think Roga found out the hard way that...
Yeah, that was the match in particular. It's like, you better start running some
Yeah.
miles to be in the ring with me.
Tobizaru's on your bike. You're on feet? Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Final day match versus Shonanoumi was a real David versus Goliath fight,
Yeah.
which was fascinating because Shonanoumi also works angles, also fights laterally. So Tobizaru just kept doing tricks, and was relentless to the point that Shonanoumi got gassed out just by doing slaps and parries. And then to the point that Tobizaru just was like, oh, I can just push you out. And Shonanoumi, big guy, by the way. So to do that kind of a performance, already has his Kachikoshi, final day, and deciding I want it anyway, does show that Tobizaru wants it. Mm-hmm. And... some days, you know, just life gets the better of you, or maybe you're just like, you know, I don't want to get injured, but Tobizaru's there.
You know, something about the way he fought this tournament actually elevated him in my eyes. I can't explain it to you, but I was sitting there watching him fight one day, and I'm like, you know, this guy's pretty good. He really has strategy out there. It may not look it because he is doing a lot of that pulling thing. I think it was the disengaging that people were doing. How he's finding a way right back in. Like,
Yep.
You could see the wheels turning. And I was like, you know what? This guy's good. You know, for whatever you think about his style, he deserves to be here.
Yep, he is cementing his place as a mainstay in the top 5. And what I will say for the 4 and 11s, for the 6 and 9s, like the Oho, the Hiradoumis that we were seeing, this is what's going to happen in January for them. Because Tobizaru's in that same mix.
Right.
That he's now he's getting low enough that he's starting to fight people that aren't on this top 5 level.
Right. He's going to take one of the 411 spots, actually.
Yes.
So
Yes.
then he might be a little bit too high up and get knocked back down again.
And so this is what's so fascinating about a lot of the people up here. Atamifuji, Hiradoumi, that they touch. Well, he has yet to touch Sanyaku. He has yet to touch Sanyaku Oho, but like it's in him. And Atamifuji has yet. I feel like it's inevitable for Atamifuji.
Yeah.
Like these are the people that they're scraping.
Right.
And that level of intensity and sumo also elevates the Sanyaku, because look at this. Kirishima. Sorry, buddy. Mm-hmm. There's someone who wants your seat.
Yeah. There's always somebody after your seat.
Always someone after your seat. So Tobizaru is part of that larger picture that makes everything so exciting. And because it's such a different type of fighting style, you got to think twice.
Everybody's got to be on their toes a little bit, because if
bit.
you're off just slightly, Tobizaru is like the kind of guy that's going to mess up your tournament.
It is. So,
Like Hoshoryu doesn't want to fight Tobizaru in a bad tournament.
no.
Where things aren't clicking right.
That's also worth noting is he only fought one. Oh, he fought two. He did not fight Hoshoryu.
Yeah, I was a little
Didn't fight
surprised.
Hoshoryu. Interesting. But M5, it's not a guarantee.
No. He's lucky he got 2 of them.
He's like, or unlucky, depending how you look at it.
Yeah, good point. In this tournament, no one was beating an Ozeki.
No, yeah.
Only the 2, like Abi with a little bit of luck and Oho with the ability that's in him.
I remember when I saw Tobizaru versus Onosato, and I'm like,
I know, it's like
Tobizaru, man.
Tobizaru's like, what did I do to deserve this?
Tobizaru, tuck and roll, baby.
just you know, if you're gonna put your arms out, just make sure you bring them back in when you go flying out.
Yeah, keep hands and legs inside the cart at all times.
Exactly.
Anyway, well done, Tobizaru. He'll be back in the mix.
Yep.
He's gonna put all he needs to do is put dirt on one Ozeki in January, and that changes everything.
I know. You always got to worry about these guys down here.
Thought in his mind. So, Debbie Downer time, Kotoshoho 3-11-1. So, similar to Hiradoumi, someone's got to have the bad time of it. Unfortunately for Kotoshoho, it was also his time. I feel like some of this is that his bad footwork is starting to catch up on him. And it looked like it was improving. It looked like things were getting better. And then the problem is that now that you're at Megashira 5, like we were just saying,
you can't be making those mistakes.
You need to elevate your game a little bit. And the big problem though is it's not the people up top that he couldn't beat. Here's the Roga fight that he could have won, but he slips. Here is the Oshoma fight that you'd think he would just bulldoze him out. He loses that to bad footwork. Here's Endo. These are people that he has the tools to win against that he couldn't because there was something missing.
Now, that injury at the end of the week, do we know what it was?
So
you'll wonder if the poor footwork is what caused the injury. Or it's the other way around.
Could be that he was nursing something and then it got bad. I think on day 13 when he was fighting Hiradoumi, I think it was something broke or it reached the point that he couldn't fight on it anymore.
So it makes me think that the poor footwork is actually the reason he's dealing with the injury because if you're not stable, you're going to use the wrong parts and you're going to get hurt. I mean, it's a very dangerous sport, actually.
Yeah, kind of. Surprising that a full contact sport involving people crashing into each other could be considered dangerous.
Yeah, sometimes we got to take it a little more seriously. I don't know.
So I feel bad for Kotoshoho in particular because not only did he have the really bad record, but he didn't have he was robbed of the ability to try to at least scrape it by.
Right.
Like he could have gotten a 5-10 maybe if he wanted to really badly, but
nope.
3-12 effectively. Also, it's doubly hurting for Kotoshoho is that he had that 8-7 grind coming up here.
Like it was like some forward momentum.
Oh, it was slow, and now he's going to be losing about 6 months of work.
But that is the hardest part about sumo.
This is my biggest concern for Kotoshoho is that he needs to. This can't be a big confidence blow to him.
Right.
He needs to have that mental toughness that has been his problem.
The question is, at Megashira 5, he won't go to Juryo, right?
No.
I didn't think so.
We're not talking about Juryo until we get to Ryuden in Sadanoumi down here.
Okay.
This is you may be on predict. So any bad record from Megashira 11 and higher, you're fine.
Okay. So hopefully he's not hurt enough that he needs to miss another tournament and he can just sort of...
I have a feeling he'll come back scrapped. Maybe it'll be a super bandaged toe and some painkillers. But for Kotoshoho also, again, if he's able to rebound from this, if he's able to look at Kotozakura doing well, his brother got a Kachikoshi. His brother rode and held the flag for Kotozakura.
Oh, really?
Partially because Kotoshoho was injured. But Koto...
It's Koto Eho, I think.
Koto Eho. Oh, we got a 7-8. That sucks. But he had the flag.
Okay, I have to go back and look at that now.
Dude looks pumped.
Oh, that had to be very thrilling.
He got to ride. He got to ride the van.
Yeah,
you've got it. You're just
you've made it if you're in the van. You
made it. Because I think you have to be a Sekitori. I think. Well, anyway, Kotoshoho. Sad to see it. All I hope for his January is 7 wins, 6-7 wins. I hope for more, but I don't want to collapse out of him.
Right. It's very tenuous right now.
So, unfortunate. But, nuts to that for the moment, because now we're going to talk about Takanosho.
Oh, my heart.
11-4. Yusho contending performance. So, not only is his power seem to be returning, whether or not he's working through his injuries, I think he's just making the best of it. For him, the key to victory, as we were mentioning when we were talking about Onosato, were the angles of attack. Takanosho was always good at persistence, at stability.
Yes.
But he was very lateral. He was very forward back.
Right. He was not going to shift to the side.
But now he's starting to do some maneuvers. Now he's parrying people. Something that really caught my eye is when he was fighting Roga. Roga gets his belt. Bad news for a pusher thruster when a grappling guy gets the belt on his left side, or it would be Takanosho's right side. Takanosho then does the move. He moves against the grip and then pushes on the side that Roga does not have the grip on. That upsets Roga's balance, and so he's able to reverse his fortunes with this new technique. Now, you had mentioned this before.
Oh yes, this is our moment where we get to talk about the great, amazing Takakeisho.
There you go.
So, there was an interview of some sort with Takanosho, and I guess Takakeisho's been, in the practice. I don't know that he's fighting, but he's training up the younger fighters. And Takanosho's been going down and sitting there and watching and observing and listening to all of Takakeisho's feedback. I think many of you saw Takakeisho went into the commentary booth, so he gave a lot of information. And one of the things, and there's a ton of videos out there actually, one of the things he said is he never spoke to other wrestlers, ever. Even the ones he really, really liked, with the exception of probably Daieisho. He was just so focused on his sumo, his tournament, that he didn't have time for it. Now he's like so excited to talk and teach, and a lot of people have been commenting because he did a video where he was analyzing the matches. I forget which day, maybe day 13 or something. And a lot of people are commenting on how great of a sumo mind he has. So I really do think, it's not just my heart that wants to believe it, that Takanosho is benefited in this tournament from actually getting advice from Takakeisho. Here's a pusher thruster who found a way to have extreme success. More success than any of these other pusher thrusters. None of them have made it to Ozeki. So he has a lot of insight, particularly on some of these guys, because he just fought them, but also on the need, like, if someone gets your belt, what are you going to do? How do you get underneath somebody? How do you throw someone off balance with pushing and thrusting? He's got the absolute best guy to give him that advice. So the sky's the limit if the body is good, and also if Takanosho is, mentally prepared to keep going, like to push harder than he has been pushing, because these top guys, as we said, they're so good. So even if you start beating everybody, including, like, say he beats Gonoayama next time, Kirishima next time, he's still got to face Kotozakura, Hoshoryu.
Well,
did he face Onosato?
Here's Onosato. Here's
Yeah,
Wakatakakage. Right. Beats Wakatakakage on the last day to get the special prize.
Yes.
His was conditional.
The Onosato one, he somewhat has Onosato's number, but that was the one in particular where I thought to myself, I feel like he studied some tape or got some advice.
He went in with a game plan.
He definitely planned it. He started with the Nodowa to get him upright. And one of the things people have been saying about Onosato that I saw in this tournament is that Onosato is so focused on pushing forward that he is more upright than most guys are, because he doesn't have to worry about it. He's so powerful that he can cheat a little bit and be a little bit more upright. Takanosho took advantage of that with that Nodowa, like, oh, you want to be upright? I'm going to make you really upright. So there was a strategy there, and, I do think Onosato will be more prepared for him next time, but who knows? This could be the start of a new, this guy, Hoshoryu kind of thing. Who knows? But I do think that Takanosho's got to really grind it out, because it's going to get harder. He's going to go up.
So what interests me about Takanosho and the Takakeisho X Factor. So he did 12-3 in July.
Okay, I thought it was July.
So Takakeisho, still fighting, retires in September. So he gets a 12-3 on his own merits.
Yep.
And then when he's Megashira 1, he's 4-11 because he's a little too high. Now, if you'll notice, he's 11-4. He's going to go right back to Megashira 1, but now this time it's going to be with the extra coaching.
Right.
So, like this is like scientifically pristine.
Yes.
Because here's our control right here. 12-3, 4-11, right? And he came a hair's breadth away from beating Terunofuji in that playoff. Again, by himself, to show that a lot of what Takakeisho is doing is refining. It's
right.
And we always talk about it's that little extra something.
Exactly.
The improvements that you need at this level are so small to get so big. It's just that little extra inch. And so that's what Takanosho's been getting or shows that he had in November.
And he never had the benefit of it before. Like in theory, okay, they're training together. You know, he already has Takakesho. He has Takakesho more now. He has him almost to himself because there aren't any other top guys in that stable, I don't think.
I think, no, let's see.
I don't even think there's a Juryo guy.
The Tokiwayama stable. Pop it in. So Takanosho, when we go down to Makushita.
Exactly.
Makushita 7. Oh, how'd Wakanosho do? Wakanosho. Talk to me. 6-1.
Okay, so
Here's number 2. Oh, nasty cut. All
yeah,
right,
I mean that stable has been pretty much decimated by scandals over and over again. Guys just like leaving. So Takanosho's getting his own little personal tutelage, and so if he can put it together himself, like he did with that 12-3, he should have an advantage that he did not have before. That's all I'm saying.
Look forward to January to see if Takanosho can get better than a 4-11 at M1.
And it really, it's great, but it hurts because it's like, Hoshoryu is my guy. But if he's fighting Takanosho, I can't pick a winner. I just
hope for good sumo.
Yeah, that's all you can hope for.
All you do. Make it look good.
He's the heart pick. I'll be rooting for him for the rest of his career.
So, well done, Takanosho, and we may be able to see him back at his Sekiwake self. But that is entirely...
Big if. Yeah.
This is what's... Again, stay tuned to January. Look forward to this.
Another exciting thing.
There you go. So, Nishikigi, a little less enthusiastic. 5-10 has a strong week 1 fade. So, it looked like people were just outpacing him. He had his power. He has his defenses, but just people were just, no, I'm just going to run past you.
You know, the graphic of this, though, is very pleasing to the eye because it's every other day he won.
So like if this was his tournament, if it's just win lose, would be like, all right, he's scrapping through it. But this early fade and not able to get consistent wins. I'm not too worried about it. He's
in great shape for his age.
That is my takeaway personally.
I think he's the second oldest behind Tamawashi. You got Nishikigi, Sadanoumi, and Tamawashi, like all.
Let's look at him.
Let's see who's the elder statesman.
So Nishikigi is 1990, so he is 34. 87, so he's 37.
Okay.
And then 84, so he's 40.
40. He finally turned 40.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Nishikigi's the third oldest.
Still getting up in there in years and
still powerful,
still doing his brand of sumo. Also good reversals. So Gonoayama steam trains him and Nishikigi reverses it. That is solid defense. Gonoayama had a stellar tournament, so the ability to turn that power away is good. Atamifuji does what he did to a lot of other people, gets inside and smothers him. Nishikigi found a way out.
That's one of those strengths that Nishikigi has.
Yes.
And when it's on, it's a beautiful thing to watch.
This is why I'm not... The 5-10, I see this more as a ceiling than a concern.
Right.
Because the way he got his wins were his brand of sumo.
Exactly. So, like, it just wasn't always working out every day.
So, and this is another case of just, he had a real bad start. Didn't click.
Right, and sometimes, in particular, if you're an older guy, the slow start actually is a thing that happens. You just can't find your adrenaline early on. So, yeah, like you said, I'm not necessarily worried yet either, but it stinks.
Sucks, yeah. I don't like seeing double-digit losses for Nishikigi.
No.
Feels bad.
Does.
But he'll be fine. We're not even talking about Juryo right now. So, better luck in January for him.
Yeah.
So next up we have Endo, who has probably the most Endo tournament of all.
Yeah, there's starting to be an Endo tournament.
This is an Endo tournament. When he was able to get the advantage, or he's able to reverse the advantage, it was very textbook. Get the belt, drive. He has a persistence and a grit that I like to see because before we had the fade Endo,
Right, who just was sort of giving up in matches.
who would just sort of he would hit a limit. So these two matches here for me are like the highs and lows
Back to back,
of
too.
Endo. So when he fights Tamawashi, he gets cracked silly. Tamawashi, just as always, takes no prisoners when he's in that ring. He cracked Endo open. Endo finally gets inside, and then Tamawashi does a very violent
Punishes him.
throwdown. So I felt really bad for Endo because he gave it his all. He finally got the belt, and then for his troubles, he just gets a face full of dirt. That same grit goes up against former Sekiwaki Meisei. And this time around, he pressures Meisei until Meisei panic pulls. Mm-hmm. So, it giveth and it taketh away a little bit.
Right.
But my takeaway from these 2 days is some days Endo gets the better of it. So other days the better of it gets to Endo.
Right. And that's the Endo tournament.
This is the Endo tournament. Sometimes he gets it. Sometimes he doesn't.
There are some matches where he looks so good, so crisp. Like that's textbook sumo. And that's kind of the nice thing about him still being around, even though he's not who he was.
Yeah, he is.
You can get good matches out of him.
You can get good matches out of him. Here's also somebody with a...
Oh, he's up there too.
34.
Okay.
Same age as Nishikigi. For comparison.
What's funny about that is Endo he's like Tamawashi, except physically he still looks the same age every year.
He's still the pretty boy look, and so...
Yeah. You don't know how old the dude is.
He's as old as Nishikigi, so we're talking about Nishikigi saying, he's doing good for his age. Endo.
And then we're saying, Endo, you should do better. It's like, for your age?
Keep this in mind.
Wow.
And also, this is another thing, when you start watching sumo long enough, you lose track of these things.
You do, because you're like, I've only been watching for 3 years. No, you've been watching for 7.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, 7 years ago, Endo is younger.
Right. And he looks the same to me as he did 7 years ago.
That's how time works, apparently.
Yeah, time's just...
It is. So, Endo doing Endo things. I like Endo. And so the lost Ryuden sucked a little bit because Ryuden was just hard fade.
Right, so you would think he could have got his 8 and 7.
Endo maybe losing steam on the second week. But again, keep in mind, he's 34. He's been doing this forever.
Yeah.
He's still going face first for that belt like he's 10 years younger.
When I see guys like Endo... It really does put this crazy perspective on me about Takakesho retiring at 28.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Endo's been hurt forever, and he's still going. Like, how much did Takakesho's injury suck for him to be like, it ain't worth it? You know?
It's the type of injuries.
Exactly.
It's where it is.
It's how it drains you.
Yeah. Keep in mind, Kisenosato was Yokozuna. He gets the arm and shoulder injury, and he's done.
Yeah. That was a pretty tragic event in sumo, for sure.
Sometimes you just get an injury, and it's just
the right one.
It's the right one.
The right one for the wrong result.
It's like, here's your ticket out of here. So, Endo, see you in January. Please, more of this. Maybe an 8 and 7.
Yeah, 7 and 8's okay.
Yeah, I don't want to be selfish here. If you're a 7 and 8, if you're a 6 and 9, it's not a big deal. So, next up we have Mitakeumi. So 7 and 8, but man, Mitakeumi almost gave me a stroke out there.
Mitakeumi really elevated his, persona, we'll say. He went from being a guy who we've given a little bit of flack to in the past, before all the bad stuff started happening, for not training enough, for not looking like he wanted it enough, to this was the gutsiest thing. Everybody was commenting on, I can't believe this dude's out here, including the Japanese commentators. They were like, we really admire your spirit, but you shouldn't be here. That was literally the quote.
Also, a good reminder that when we do talk about people not trying or not giving their all, we talk about Shodai, we talk about old Asanayama. This is the context in which we are saying it. You do not get on this top 42 unless you're an absolute lunatic.
Exactly.
And you need a different mindset. You need a different worldview.
Or you don't last.
Or you don't even get out of Jonidan. You don't get to the 3rd division, let alone up here.
Exactly.
These are people who have decided this is their life and they're living it. And so Mitakeumi is a reminder to all of us. 1, this is a violent sport and sometimes people get injured. And 2, these people are out of their minds.
Absolutely. You wouldn't see me out there getting that kind of punishment.
No, I turned my ankle and I'm like, I'm done for the week.
Right?
Kirishima just goes back to work.
Right? He's like, oh, well, it's just a turned ankle.
Yeah.
Well, in particular, the injury that Mitakeumi sustained, I'm guessing it was the back of the thigh?
Hip bruise on day 15.
He didn't have a hip.
If you look at day 15, he doesn't have the bandages on, and there is a nasty bruise about the size of your fist.
I need to go back and pay attention to that. But
I saw that. I'm like, ah!
Well, I mean, it was so disturbing to see him like barely moving. He's on a stretcher. We haven't seen that.
Yeah. Well, it was great because the camera, at least for some of the footage, pans over to them bringing the wheelchair out, and you're like, oh no, here's the wheelchair. Then the wheelchair goes back and leaves, and you're like,
what?
Are we just gonna shoot him? Is he dead? And then they bring the sumo stretcher
which
out.
I've not seen since like some really catastrophic injuries.
There was a morbid fascination. Like, oh, they have a stretcher now.
Now that you know that it was a hip, that makes sense. They were probably afraid that he broke it.
Yes.
So you don't want to make a guy with a broken hip sit in a wheelchair. You're going to make everything worse. So now it explains it. The medical people probably said to him, don't move. We're getting the stretcher. Now everything is clear to me. But there was also a moment where I see Takanosho there with the track jacket, and I'm like, did he think for a second, this could have been me?
It goes through, Aoyama was there too. They're all those guys are there sitting there like, either that could have been me or I've been there.
Right, exactly.
And it also helps. Also, it's good to see those guys.
Dude.
Jacked.
Aoyama lifted Mitakeumi like it was no problem.
Not a problem.
So much more am I impressed by this man in that moment. That was nuts.
Still miss Aoyama. But let's talk sumo.
Yes, let's do it.
What made this doubly tragic is this 5-1 going into that hip injury.
Right.
Where he was fighting, I'll say, Sekiwake Mitakeumi level. And so we forget this because this was on day 1. He beats Roga by physically lifting him up. Hoshoryu then did it against Kirishima on day 14. So then we forget about this. Roga's a big guy, and Mitakeumi just crane lifts him.
Well, it tells you between like the way he was winning before the injury and the fact that he came back, that there was something firing him up. It must have been the end of the year. Mm-hmm. Because he wanted this so bad, and it does kind of hurt you a little bit that, if things had just gone a little differently, who knows what he would have done this tournament.
He could have, yeah. So he goes from a 5-1, and then walking wounded gets 2 more wins. So you look at it thinking back, and you're like, well, there's a big difference between a 5-10 and a 7-8.
Yeah, and the match against Takarafuji, he like somehow mustered the ability to bend down and just throw one final push to get Takarafuji out. It was extremely impressive for a guy with that kind of injury.
So this is grit. This is a bit of an emotional roller coaster for Mitakeumi fans. I can only imagine what Hiro was going through this whole
I know. Hiro's been through a lot with Mitakeumi.
Oh God. But the end result is 7-8 means he's not really going anywhere.
Right.
If you look at these first 6 days and you think if that Mitakeumi comes back in January for 15 days,
he gets another chance to like wreak some havoc. Special prize, at least double-digit Kachikoshi. So right.
Just hopefully the hip's better. I think if you're fighting on it, it's not that bad, but you're still concerned.
Right, because a hip is a very dangerous place to hurt.
Yeah.
You don't want to be breaking a hip. I can see a world in which, and maybe this is totally off, where they hold all of these 7 and 8s in their spot.
So I was going to talk about this.
Funny.
I was going to bring this up for our friend Roga out of 7 and 8.
Uh-huh.
Roga, the historical Makakoshi hold man. Mm-hmm. And if you'll notice, he was hold it. Where is it? There it is. The famous double hold.
At Keeps it at
3 times.
Uh-huh. If they decide to hold him,
If
do
you're
they
gonna
decide
hold-
to hold the others?
If you're gonna hold anybody, you're gonna hold Roga.
Of course. You
Which-
better.
Which is that now whenever Roga gets to 7 and 8, this is now what I'm looking for. Are you gonna hold?
Are you going to just put that in the Banzuke no matter what?
I might. I haven't thought that hard ahead, but now that you put the idea in, I think I just
Just kind of has to happen.
I'm gonna hold him no matter what, even if the math doesn't work. It's just too funny.
The math doesn't work
So-
anyway.
Career high for Roga, gets a 7 and 8, not bad. His signature belt fighting, patient, defensive, sort of advancing slowly, but you can't stop him sumo, did get him some nice wins. So probably what is showing him his ceiling is Tobizaru. And this is, we keep always talk about how there's levels. You have the people in the top 5. You have the Sanyaku, you have the Ozeki, and now there's the group of people sort of in the middle who then try to get into the top 5. Roga's biggest problem is that his reaction time isn't quite there yet, and Tobizaru tries to henka him. Roga's got good defenses. Roga holds it. Tobizaru has that moment of, you failed the henka, you can exploit him. Tobizaru is faster than Roga, turns around and counters Roga's defense. If Roga was faster, if Roga had the better reaction time, Tobizaru's in the stands.
Now, do you think Roga can increase his speed, or is that just going to be something that is an issue for him?
Well, for that kind of a thing, either the sumo sense needs to be a little sharper, so that like you sort of you sense the henka, you counter, and then you're just moving no matter how slow you are, or you get to the point that your defenses are so good that the follow-up attack also doesn't work.
True. That's probably his best bet.
This boils down to how Roga wants to internalize this and go with it.
True.
And there'll be somebody we talk about later that I am focused on that in terms of how this person's doing. But does some good. Again, he's doing well. Roga has a consistency to his sumo, and he just hits a ceiling, and then he seems to just push through it.
Right.
Also, he's big and sort of like a watered down Tochinoshin. So sometimes when he fights, I sort of squint and pretend he has a silver belt.
Well, it's a similar part of the world, so.
Anyway, Roga did his 7 and 8. This is somebody who he fought about as good as his record shows.
Right. He did, I guess, almost what you would expect him to do.
Yeah. So
sometimes 7 and 8's like, I'm just like, whatever.
you're fine. He did all right.
Yeah.
Everybody wants 8 and 7, obviously, but not bad. And then he gets the Toki Hayate get out of here at the end of it. So
Poor Toki Hayate.
Oh my God. Some of these new guys, my heart's breaking.
It's like, you didn't know what you signed up for, did you?
We'll get to that. There's a few of those.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But we knew this was going to happen. And this is also part of sumo returning to normalcy.
Yeah.
People come out from Juryo and then they find out that the world is very mean up here.
It's kind of like if you had a jar full of water and sand, and you've been slowly sifting the sand to the bottom, but it's taken a little while. The jar's full of water right now, and the sand is at the bottom.
So, see you next time, Roga. Gonoayama. I think all Gonoayama fans can have a collective sigh of relief.
You gotta wonder, what happened to him?
So he was
struggling.
He couldn't figure it out in the top 5. He goes down this low, and I think during the preview show, I'm like, okay, Gonoayama, I like you, but if you can't do well here, you might have found your ceiling.
Right.
He gets an 11 and 4. He looks as good as he did when he came in here. It looks like he
found where we thought he was going to be.
When he came in, he was this freight train of pain. You just couldn't deal with him. And then he gets high enough, and then people start dealing with him, and then he struggles. But now we're back in double-digit wins and looking dominant.
What's funny is all the matches he lost were to guys that are very good at maneuvering out of tough situations.
Number one way to beat Gonoayama remains henka. 2 henkas to him today, including day 1.
Yeah.
And also Endo.
Well, a truly powerful pusher thruster who is committed to going forward is going to get defeated by the henka more often than not.
So he is arguably low enough that a record like this just means that
he was ranked too low.
He was a little too low, which is a good sign. the way he was winning gave me a lot of hope. This may be the Gonoayama fan talking, but the biggest problem Gonoayama had when he was higher up is that people were able to outmaneuver him.
Right.
I was there. They all did the Matador Ole. Even if it wasn't a Henka, they would be able to
just take the charge.
And then deal with the energy.
Right.
Something that Gonoayama was doing in a lot of his wins, and particularly against Takanosho here, is that he kept the distance closed, so people didn't have room to maneuver.
Right.
They couldn't parry. They couldn't laterally move because he was right on top of them, stuck to them.
Mm-hmm. Something that he's internalized at this point.
So if he's able to stick like glue to people higher up, now he gets a win off of a game Kirishima here. Here's Takarafuji.
That was a big win for him, I think. Even though Takarafuji was like losing steam a little bit, that's still an important win to go up against the guy that also has the most powerful Tachiai.
Yeah. So we were talking about how Mitakeumi was 5-1 and looked unstoppable. Here's the guy who stopped him. So this 11-4 it's good from a morale boosting and also the way he was getting these wins against people who were fighting well.
Yeah. Now, when he goes up, now he, one would think it would not be so easy.
Yes. So, here is, again, here's Abi, here's Kirishima, here's Takanosho. So he's beating the right people.
Yep.
Now, who's not on this list? Onosato, Hoshoryu, Kotozakura.
Right, and he's going to face them next time.
Daieisho.
He's going to get all of them next time.
Wakatakakage. So,
I mean, if you think about it, it's probably going to reverse.
Well, this is the big question.
Right.
Now,
depending on what shape is he in.
This proves Gonoayama has nothing to do with anything with double digits in the Megashira. He does not belong.
Here's the interesting thing about Gonoayama, if you're talking about the January picture. If he does good, that means one of the Ozeki is not doing good.
Yes.
That's what that means.
This is the counterbalance, right?
Uh-huh.
The elite have to stay elite by beating all the people lower down. But if the people lower down are getting their act together.
That means the top guys are not.
I
mean, you could have a double collapse of Kotozakura and Hoshoryu both saying, yeah, I don't really want to be Yokozuna. You know what I mean? Like, someone like Gonoayama take advantage of that.
This is why January has a lot of expectations being put on it.
It's so much craziness, I can barely handle it.
It has the potential to have something break out crazy like we've never seen in a long time. It has the potential to absolutely devastate everyone.
Yeah. If those three guys decide like, nah, we all have each other in our scope and you all need to go away, then Gonoyama's in trouble.
Takanosho's in trouble. The Waka brother.
Both the Waka brothers are in trouble. Kirishima is just going to get knocked even further down. Like, it's really up to them.
This is exciting. This is the kind of sumo we've all been waiting for.
Yep.
And now it's coming and
like the Hakuho days where it's like, okay, so is Hakuho going to win with a 15-0 or a 14-1? Are any of these guys going to even come close to beating him?
I'm starting to feel bad for January because it didn't ask for this.
Yeah. Like, seriously, for us to get what we want, to get a new Yokozuna, there must be pain for the lower guys.
Yes. So, Gonoayama, are you ready for pain in January?
John, I'm seeing the faultiness of your logic of rooting for everyone. Because even rooting for everyone is making a choice.
Yes.
That somebody's going to have a bad day.
Yes. If you like everybody, you're going to be sad.
Yeah.
This is my path. This is my brand of sumo.
You have a path of suffering ahead of you.
Wouldn't have it any other way. So, speaking of path of suffering, Midorifuji. So, how long until we say that this training montage is actually him just struggling?
I think we can say it now.
This was the tournament where I'm looking at him like, he's been doing this figuring things out thing in the back of all of my mind anyway. A lot of people's minds maybe. That because he was in that top 5. He just couldn't figure a way to get to Sanyaku. Then he has that one tournament that he just goes forward all the time, win or lose. And then he was doing some weird mixing it up stuff. And he's been doing that weird mixing it up stuff for long enough that I'm not quite sure that he's planning anything anymore.
Right. At this point, it's like he's out there just fighting for his life. You know, I will say this, though. I believe it was the Onokatsu match. He is ridiculously strong for his size.
Yes.
I'm always thrown when he can push somebody out of the ring. Now, typically, it's happening to him. Because once they get the better of him, I mean, they just send him so... Like, he's off his feet when he gets blasted. So he's got no chance. He's going out. But when he is the one who gets it, he can push some of these big guys out. So he's actually a pretty cool fighter.
He's really strong. He's also got a big gash tank. So he had 4 marathon matches this tournament. Usually you only get 1 or 2, and you're like, whew, that's enough for me.
Right, and it's like your whole tournament's
And he
wrecked.
also gets it with Mitakeumi, a bigger guy, very strong.
He's so used to fighting big dudes.
He got it also against Nishikigi. He outlasts Nishikigi.
And Nishikigi's got a decent tank for his size.
Nishikigi's got a good tank. He's got strong defenses, and Midorifuji weathers the storm on him. Mm-hmm. So here's another guy who's just not giving up, and you can't wait on him. He lives in the deep waters.
Right. I mean, he's in a stable with the only guy who's his size is Nishikigi, and he's not in good shape.
Yeah. So, like you had mentioned, the biggest losses that he gets are people, if you notice a trend. Here's Tamawashi, here's Takanosho.
Both of those guys,
Kotoshoho,
right, they all had it in their mind, like, I'm going to blast your little body out.
Ichiyamamoto.
Yeah.
A lot of his losses are people hitting him hard at the Tachi-ai or just so strong that Midorifuji can't even get started.
Yeah, I mean, poor Midorifuji almost has to hank it every time, because if he gets caught by one of these Tachi-ai, he has no way to defend himself. He's just too small.
3 henkas this tournament. Only one of them worked. So
what was the Chiohsyu? Was Chiohsyu, did he blast him out in that one? I can't remember.
Chiohsyu Oshidashi. Blast him out.
Yeah, I thought so. I was really surprised because we thought that might be a double.
Could have been on paper.
Yeah.
Prepare yourself. So I was having this thought during the tournament for Midorifuji, and I'm like, this isn't a training montage anymore. He's just fighting out there. But then I gave it another thought, and I'm like, but I have fun every time he's fighting.
Right. How is he no different than Ura in
Exactly.
some ways?
That's where my mind went.
Like, I think we forget Midorifuji just because Ura is so dynamic, but the truth is he's just as entertaining as Ura.
Midorifuji is he's a grittier, scrappier.
Stronger than most guys his size.
Deceptively strong.
Like, we used to give Enho everything. We give poor Midorifuji nothing.
This is me giving Midorifuji the credit he's always deserved. I mean, we've given it to him before.
But we need to give him more.
He's getting more. This is his moment now, guys.
I'm taking up the mantle, and I'm going to hype Midorifuji every tournament now.
Yep. Everybody praise Midorifuji. He needs it. Particularly, I mean, look at... He's
a small dude.
He's small dude. Here's Terunofuji, right? Here's... Where is the cult of Atamifuji? There's all these Fujis up here. Takarafuji always gets the love because he's the veteran.
And it's like Midorifuji. Oh, who's that? I forgot about him. He needs the bright green Mawashi. I mean, if you're gonna have a name like Midorifuji,
oh, that's a good point.
Think about that. If he gets a lime green Mawashi, he's gonna get some fans.
Yeah. So we may have taken our eye off him when he fell out of the top 5, but guys, it's the same Midorifuji we all know and love.
Who's
2 Katatsukashi.
Yeah, Katatsukashi, pushing out big dudes, running around. Always putting his full effort in. He's done everything that the other popular guys have done without the credit.
Let's give him. He gets it. He gets it now.
That's right. We are going to be big supporters on this channel.
Hang in there, Midorifuji.
It'll be okay.
Yeah. So, next up, somebody else who's hanging in there. Takayasu, 8-7, Kachikoshi good. This is the first tournament in a very long time that he's looked mortal.
Yeah, I forgot about him. That's how under the radar he was. Like, when the tournament started, I had some high hopes for him. And then just the way it went, you see this right in the beginning, every other day loss thing. I sort of forgot all about him. And then he goes on a tear. And then I start to notice him again, and then he loses again.
Fades out.
Yeah, he was just an average wrestler in this tournament.
Which this was the first time he looked like an aging veteran, because it was the case that like he had the Ozeki aura. When he was there, he would crush you, but then his body would hold him back.
Right.
This was sort of a more what you would expect
for his age and his
age.
condition.
And again, the big thing is that Ozeki Ora just wasn't there. He still fought well. And again, this 5-run streak, a lot of good, fun sumo. Against Endo, he does the 500 and, what's the number? 540 degrees, because he gets him 360.
And then it keeps going.
And then he just keeps going another 180 in order to get him down. Props to Endo for holding in there for an entire spin through, but Takeuchi just kept spinning him.
I know. I was like, whoa, I'm getting dizzy watching this match.
So, him and Kotoshoho get into it. Takayasu beats the crap out of Kotoshoho.
Well, it's like, Takayasu is not the guy to get into a slap fight
No,
with,
you don't want to.
unless you're a guy that's bigger and tougher than him.
So, Takayasu's still fighting his way, but it just there was a lessening of intensity.
You wonder, like, did he just find like this calmness with his body that was like enough to compete, but it wasn't great?
I think it was like nothing was broken, but also he just also still was not at 100%. When he lost to Hokutofuji, he was walking back to that starting line real tender.
Yeah.
It's sort of just like he like barely made it to 15.
Takayasu's been through a lot too, in terms of like he's gotten a lot of illnesses over time, and he has the repeating back thing. So he's definitely a guy where it's like, how do I feel this tournament? A good enough to get an 8-7.
So again, 8-7. Any Kachikoshi in a storm, as they say. No one says that.
You say that.
I say that.
Is that going on a shirt? Okay, I'm gonna have to go back. I have like 7 shirt ideas, and I'm seriously gonna make them.
Okay.
Because people want them, and I want them. I will wear them. So, what mark are we on here? Does it even tell us when we're recording? What minute mark are we?
156.
Okay, 156. Remember this so I can get a shirt idea. Okay, go.
So again, on paper, 8-7. He's moving up. He's doing well. He's better than the fade. It just felt weird to see him look normal.
It was so weird. It
was
didn't
weird.
feel like him.
And towards your earlier point, with the craziness going on at the top, his just normal sumo was just
maybe it absorbed his aura
a little bit. So January is going to be interesting because is will he build the aura back, or is this sort of the beginning of the new Takayasu who's here to mingle with the other veterans?
Right. This is a veteran party down here.
Veteran zone. But I always like seeing a Kachikoshi next to him, so it doesn't matter.
Right. I mean, we still keep holding out hope, but I think maybe that time is definitely past.
Well,
we'll see.
I'm the habitual. I will never say it out loud.
Well, somebody has to be the eternal optimist in this group because I'm the doomer.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, after last tournament, which was just, that depressed me. I almost had a moment where I'm like, do I even want to watch sumo anymore?
It was rough.
And it wasn't just because Takakesho left. Like, just so much in that tournament was wrong. The Ozeki having the tournament that they had, Takakesho leaving the way he did, everything just felt so gloomy. And this tournament, I'm like, yeah, sumo's awesome.
Sumo.
I had to be reminded how awesome sumo is.
November was good, guys.
Yeah. Got me out of Doomerland, okay?
Yeah, definitely. If you didn't see all 15, get some clips. It's some good stuff.
Oh, I'm definitely going to actually rewatch stuff. First of all, I still haven't been able to watch you and JJ. And did you guys know you were recording for like a good, 10 minutes and you didn't know it?
There was...
You weren't on the screen, but like you were talking about, okay, when Goose brings us in and all this stuff, and just like all that talk was on there.
There was some madness going on that. Shout out to Sunday Morning Sumo Show. There'll be a link.
Yeah, we can put a link.
Put a link in. They put a link in for us. They're really good to us.
I know. I'm always worried because of things, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's from protection's sake.
Yeah.
But I think a link will be fine.
Link will be fine. They do live sumo commentary. They've been kind enough to invite us on to
let us be like staple day 13.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for it. JJ and I had a really good time.
I can't wait to listen to the full thing. I started and I'm like, I can already tell this is going to be so fun.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess we can go into a little bit. There was some technical difficulties.
Oh, okay.
So the first 10 minutes of the recording, we were sitting there, we were chatting, we were hanging out. And then the technical difficulties were worked out.
Uh-huh.
And then we were super live from there.
Okay. Gotcha.
But anyway,
I was in technical difficulty land.
Yeah, the opening 10 minutes for us sort of talking, we're like, oh, we don't know if this is gonna work, and then it worked, and we're like, we're going, let's go. So we were just hanging out talking crap.
Awesome.
Good times. I had a lot of fun. JJ's a cool guy. Anyway, speaking of things JJ likes.
Yes, he's a big
Ichiyamamoto 87.
He pulled it off on the last day.
This is a very stressful record. But look at this. 7-7 into the last day. 7-7 into the last day. 7-7 into the last day. And 4 times running 7-7 into the last day. 3-1 on 7-7s.
This is the Ichiyamamoto way.
The man embodies struggle in a way that few others do.
And the thing is, it almost like he needs the struggle to be motivated. He's one of those dudes.
Yeah. So it looks like he is working on improving his strengths. So early on, like these 3 right here, Ichiyamamoto was hitting hard. He was hitting well. Midorifuji tries to hanka him. Normally that works, but Ichiyamamoto actually had the balance and defenses to block it.
And the balance has really been his tricky thing. It's the same kind of thing as Abi, where the feet are up.
Yeah. So all 7 of his losses has happened due to one of 2 reasons. Either 1, somebody parries him and knocks him down, so they upset his balance, or 2, he pulled.
Yep. That freaking panic pull.
The panic pull is the bane of his existence. And
I think that's like a pusher thruster thing, though. They can't help it.
Some of it is just the pusher thruster side effect. Abi has made it an art form.
He has.
But Ichiyamamoto, if he's pulling, he's losing.
Especially let me see. Was he? Yeah. He pulled on Gonoayama.
Pulls on Gonoayama. He pulls on Takarafuji.
Of all people to pull on, these guys are going to steamroll you, dude.
The problem is that this is his instinct.
I know.
And so...
Bad habits.
It's a bad habit. This is the big problem, is that he's building his strengths up. He's hitting harder. His reaction times are getting better. But the Achilles heel is still there. And so I think it was a while back I sat down with Ichiyamamoto and I'm like, okay, what do you need to work on? And it was like, okay, he has some belt stuff he's working on. He's doing some more things. There's lateral, shore up your footwork. Some of that stuff is going on, but the big problem, if he gets that fixed, if he stops panic pulling, it's going to be very interesting.
Or save the pull for somebody who is vulnerable to the pull. If you must pull, it can't be Gonoayama. It can't be Takayasu.
Oh, there's that too. But it's again when it's that reflex.
Right. He's not deciding who he's against in that moment.
Yeah. And sumo is so fast, particularly with this kind of power.
I saw an interesting video, must be because of all the stuff I watch, which was judo versus sumo. And so I'm watching a whole class of judo, and the judo guys, there's so many throws that are so similar to sumo throws that they're basically the same thing. But then they put a dohyo in there. And the judo guys were really struggling because they're like, I don't have the space and the time to pull my throw. So sumo really has crafted this interesting thing where you're doing these throws, but you have to do them so quick and so precisely that you just got to be perfect at it. And so in the case of Ichiyamamoto, that dohyo is awfully small. So the second you start to pull, you got maybe half a step before you're out. And so that's why the panic pull is so bad.
Sometimes you'll hear in wrestler interviews that they'll talk about, oh, did you plan out this move or something like that? And they'll say things like, oh, my body moved on its own, or sort of, it's just like, oh, I just reacted to what was going on. Some of that is the sumo. Some of that is I'm just
the lingo.
The lingo. It's just, they're just saying things, but there's a truth to that.
Right, you have a plan, but because the space is so small and the speed of the match is so great, the thing you planned out may not work out.
Yep, it's how you react to it.
It's all about reactions,
and you don't have time to think about it.
No,
and so
you plan it before you get out there, and then when you get in there, it's a totally different.
It's just whatever happens is how your body will move.
Exactly.
So this is part of the instinctive problem that Ichiyamamoto has, but 8-7.
Yeah.
Moving up.
he's got a better record than Midorifuji, who, tried his brand.
Yeah. So he's doing something at least. He's sticking around. He'll be single-digit Megashira next tournament. Very exciting.
That's going to be tough for him, but...
A little bit.
We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's all about the struggle for him.
Yeah.
And I'm...
Good for him to get some serious competition, though, to wake him up.
Figure it out.
Takayasu obviously doesn't belong down there. Gonoayama is obviously elevated his level. So at least to have the experience, maybe he can sort of think a little harder before the match what he might need to do. Do a leg pick. I mean,
I would love
no
that.
one would ever expect it.
I would love that.
You just go then just slip that leg under.
Just a naked Ashitori right off the tachi.
Oh, man. I really love the Ashitori. It's just so funny.
No, he does it once, and then he never does it again. And then it's just
amazing.
in the back of everybody's head for the rest of his career.
Right. They're always like, he can do it.
He can do that.
Is he going to do it now?
He just leg picks Shonanoumi.
That's what these dudes need to do, is just pull out some crazy move just once.
Once.
Do you know why they don't do it, though? Because if you fail, then you'll be remembered for that.
Yeah, well, then, Ura fails leg picks all the time.
Ura doesn't care.
Exactly. They just don't care.
Which is why they're also afraid of him, because they're like, yo, this dude will do something nuts.
Well done, Ichiyamamoto. So, next up, this was a very interesting first week. Takarafuji, 8-7.
He was like in the U show for part of this.
He was in the U show group for. So if you look back at this, in 6-12 months, you're just looking at the list of it. You see a Takarafuji 8-7. You're just like, yeah, whatever.
Right. You won't remember the context in which it happened.
We were also talking about learning things from people that you're training with. Takarafuji had been mentioning that he's been getting some assistance from Miyagino Oyakata.
He's taken a liking to him in particular.
Apparently. So this was a tournament that I really felt like I saw it, because 6 of these 8 wins were parries, they were slap downs, they were pivots, they were angles. And it was lightning quick. So we would be watching it, it'd be a lean, and then Takarafuji would do something with his arms, and then the other guy would be on the ground.
And you're like, what?
It was so fast. You just go whip. And that kind of I know exactly how you're leaning. I know exactly where your weight is, and I can exploit it.
Comes from a certain mind.
Now, I'm not there. I'm not in the Isega Hamabeya. I don't know what's going on. I feel like there's an influence there, particularly for it to be 6 of his 8 wins.
And you know what I think happened here at the end is I think he just got tired out.
This is Takarafuji's an old guy. This is a
and they, he's doing so well. They throw some real tough guys at him, and he didn't have the energy for that.
So the week 2 fade is, I am less worried about that.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that at all.
It's still, for someone like Takarafuji, he's always had a fade. It's always been, there were some days it's like the training dummy. He just stands there.
Right, and if he had won those first 2 matches, this is a 10-5.
Yeah.
So it's just how it turned out. But he's fighting just as good as he always does, if not better. The 8-7 doesn't really reflect that.
That's fine. So our big concern is we don't want him to go. He fights like this, he's not going anywhere.
And watching that Isegahama video told me, I don't think he wants to go anywhere. So he was very, very upset about getting knocked down to Juryo. Because he says, it was a rough year, I got knocked down to Juryo. And then he's going on and on about his style of sumo. And then he ends with, but I can't forget I got knocked down to Juryo, even if it was once. It really bothered him to be in Juryo, which means this man has no plans to quit anytime soon.
Interesting. So he saw that as a low point. It's just like, I can't allow this.
Yeah, it was almost like, I don't know if the thought process was, Juryo's beneath me, or Juryo is where you go to die. You know what I mean? Either way.
This is I don't belong there.
I don't belong there. So the fact that he still has that much passion in that little short interview tells me that he really just loves the sport, and he is going to fight until he can't.
That's good news, particularly because the Yokozuna is probably not making it through 2025.
Yeah, I would guess not. So, if he does, then something's wrong with the world.
Well, it just means he's been sitting out a year.
Right, he's not actually fighting.
It'll probably take about that long for the Deliberation Council to say anything to him.
I know, they're like, oh, you're still on the couch? Cool.
It's fine.
It's all good.
Yeah.
How's Kotozakura doing? Still not Yokozuna? You're fine.
You're fine.
Hoshoryu, can you hurry up? Actually, they're probably more
Well,
Kotozakura, but
I'm interested to see how the tone shifts if we get a new belt in January or March.
yeah. Suddenly, there might be you need to retire.
Yeah. Okay. So, somebody who's also not retiring anytime soon. Tamawashi, 8-7 on his 40th birthday.
This maniac.
Holy crap.
He's such a maniac, I have to say. He's still just as violent as ever.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing you could say is sometimes he's tired.
He gives as well as he can get. He's a 40-year-old guy. So if you're faster, if you're stronger, or if you can put enough pressure on him, he's just like, nah.
Well, whatever. Showed up.
Yep. He definitely takes it as it goes. And like you said, that almost visceral sumo that he has. He slaps, he grabs.
He's still doing the Nodoa. It's not as strong.
Yep. Day one, he wrenches Takarafuji's elbow. And Takarafuji on day goes out by himself, cradling his arm. I'm like, you did that on day one. You're up to no good.
You know what? Now that you bring that up, that might have an effect on the rest of his tournament.
Well, that explains the day two loss where he didn't have an arm against Takayasu.
Because Tamawashi has done that to so many people.
Yeah, he didn't care. You're in the ring with me. Watch your limbs, buddy.
People are going to be happy when he retires.
No, not me.
No, I'm talking about wrestlers.
Oh, maybe.
Wrestlers are going to be like, oh, good, I don't have to get my arm broken. Great.
Well, they certainly wouldn't. They wouldn't mind the less of a risk, perhaps.
Yes.
So Tamawashi in his interviews talks about he wants to be back in Sanyaku. So we want to talk about. So
he's never quitting.
This is my thought. So we're talking about how Takarafuji said he was motivated. Tamawashi's motivation is to get something effectively unobtainable.
Yeah.
So he's staying. That's when I heard that line, I'm just like, oh, thank God he's not retiring. 'Cause in the back of my mind, it's like he got all the records.
Well, I think in his mind, it's like, I've made it this far. Like, why would I stop?
That's his mindset.
Yeah.
So
I still feel good. I'm going to do this.
He's doing it. He's going to stick around.
It's going to take something insane for him to quit. If he quits, it'll be like, okay, something went really wrong.
Yeah, he's just like, he no longer has a leg. What? Okay, that'll be why. He asked if he can do sumo with one of those blade things. They wouldn't let him.
So he's like, fine, I guess I have to retire.
So, Tamawashi, as fun as ever. The man to watch out for. The man with the murderous Nodoa.
Yeah.
Not bending people in the seas anymore, but it's still people.
It still messes you up.
You see the face scrunch when he puts that on people.
It's like, oh, this again.
No. It's brutal. So, Meisei at Megashira 11 West gets an 8-7.
I didn't think he was going to pull it off. It was looking a little dicey there.
I am looking at this the other way around. Bro, you used to be Sekiwake. What are you doing with an 8-7?
Things are not right for him.
Meisei is lost. So he gets outworked by Hokutofuji, gets out-reflexed by Takarafuji, gets outmaneuvered by Endo. These are all three things that he usually does to other people.
Right. You know, even in his bad tournaments, he like beats an Ozeki or a Yokozuna. Not anymore.
No, not this tournament. So not only is he losing to lower ranked people that he has no business losing to, he's losing on his terms.
In ways, right, that he doesn't lose.
So now, 8-7. Okay, he did enough. So there's that.
Do-over, I guess.
So he does have his parrying, his drives, his focus. Like, his sumo is still there. There is something wrong with him.
Yeah. And I would wonder if it's an injury because he looked muted.
That's the word I'd use.
Yeah, he was not explosive. He was muted. He didn't have the same fire that's in his eyes when he's losing. Like, he was not having a Hiradoumi tournament.
No.
He looked like he was, like, treading water. So something is wrong.
Something's happening. I hope it's something fixable. I hope it's not, like, something super bad.
Right.
But from a sumo perspective...
Maybe overtrained with Hoshoryu.
Maybe.
Hoshoryu was like, I'm going to fight every match ever that humanly possible until this tournament. And Meisei's his trading partner, so...
Who knows? But the fact that he's down here and he's getting the same 8-7s that you're seeing... Look at this. This is is his tier group now.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's not
40-year-olds getting the same record as you? I mean...
For somebody who shouldn't be down here He's fighting like he does.
Yeah.
Eh.
Do over.
January,
Fresh year.
new year, new you. 8 and 7 means you're moving up.
Yeah. There's no way he's happy though.
He's got to be seething, but you don't see it. Like you said, it's muted.
He's so muted.
Where is it? We'll see. Put a pin in that one for later. So, Hokutofuji. Really rough first week.
Scraping by.
He is slowly sinking.
Yes, the unsinkable ship is finally
taking on water.
Now, it's been several tournaments of this, but still, like, it's hard to watch. I keep thinking he's going to turn it around. It's like, no, this is the new...
I mean, he's got these last 5 wins, just digging them out of somewhere. He gets a Bushan gimme, which is kind of nice. So 5 of his 7 wins are in the final chunk of the match. So he's still fighting for it every day. He doesn't care what his score is.
Right. He hasn't given up.
The power's going down. The reactions are going down. This reminds me a lot of Okinomi when he was on his way out.
Yeah.
That Okinomi, he still had his brand of sumo, but it was just dull. Every tournament was a little more dull.
Right, and each time you get these new guys, these strong guys, people figuring it out, like, he's on the decline. There's, like, nothing he can do.
Nope.
Just show up and fight as long as he can fight.
Do what you can. Right here, when he was 3 and 7, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, I thought he was doomed.
Like, this is double-digit losses. This is me. I'm scrolling down.
Crashing
I'm like,
into Juryo.
I'm looking at Juryo. I'm like, how many people are coming up? But he gets it by the last minute.
If only he could have beaten Midorifuji.
How did this one go, actually?
Yeah, I don't even remember that match. Was that day 13? That's why. I didn't actually see it yet.
Midorifuji must have forced him out, got inside.
Because what I did was I only watched the top matches because I wanted to go back and watch the whole thing with you and JJ. So I missed almost every match in day 13. So I got to go back and watch that.
Well, Hokutofuji, at least not double-digit losses. I get him a little longer. I am preparing myself for the inevitable end. It's going to happen.
Hopefully it's a slow end, you know?
It's already a slow end. I'm fine with it for now.
That's true.
Just, that 3 and 7 got me nervous.
Yeah, I was surprised that he pulled it off in the end, but
so he pulled it. He figured it out. So someone who didn't figure it out, he's on the list now. Unfortunately, Sadanoumi, 4 and 11. So he has a strong drive. He's good at reacting, but he cannot dictate pace.
And when you get to that position, now you're just at the mercy of everybody else.
So a lot of his wins were, well, all 4 of them. It was his opponent made an error or there was a window he can go through.
Right, and he's just done this for so long that it's like, oh, cool, I'm going to take this one.
He did. So the Chiohsyu one is probably his best win because Chiohsyu had him going back and he reverses. So like this was prime Sadanoumi, this one match. And then the others were Bushojan doing worse, Ryuden doing worse, and Hokutofuji couldn't push him.
Well, in the case of the Chiohsyu thing, he's got 2 wins in a row. If he doesn't get a prime... Is that... Yeah, that's Takarafuji.
Yep.
Takarafuji was pretty prime right there. If he could have taken that one, maybe he could have gotten into some sort of momentum. But he immediately gets knocked right back down. I mean, some of the people he lost to, like Shishi.
Yep.
Takarafuji you would expect. Asakoryu, that's the kind of match that he would have won in the past because it would have been like he's the elder statesman.
Yep. Just
the momentum was sucked out of him.
Time is catching up.
Mm-hmm. Now he is the second oldest. He is 37.
Yeah, so not...
He's the one we really need to be concerned about.
I think he's safe for January, but then January it's sink or swim.
Right.
So
that's a lot of pressure in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, not looking forward to that for Sadanoumi, but
he surprised us so many times.
There's still hope. There's still hope. Yeah, well, let's get all the sadness out of the way. Ryuden also 4 and 11. Similar to Sadanoumi, like a lot of his problems are much larger than just someone to get the
Have
better
a
of
bad
you.
tournament, yeah.
You know, these 411s, this is not a Chiranoumi 411. Ryuden won primarily by outlasting people, not by being better at grappling.
Which he's had the stamina, so that's not a shock, but that's like the last gasp.
It was, yes. So his gas tank being massive, being the size of a swimming pool, has always been one of his strengths. But now it's his only strength.
Right.
Being big and being able to stay in there for as long as he needs.
And that's only going to work against a select few, and they are going to be the smaller ones typically.
So,
like Nishikigi.
Yep, he gets Nishikigi by just leaning on him. He beats Shishi because Shishi doesn't know what to do. He beats Hokutofuji because Hokutofuji can't move him.
Right.
And then Endo was fading.
Endo was like done by the end.
Endo had reached his veterans limit, so that is how Ryuden won. That is not a good
And he
sign.
lost to Bushozan, who like was out with a freaking illness.
Yep.
The whole tournament.
I'm actually really happy for Bushozan on that win, because that means that the fade that he had was the illness and not...
Kawasaki is a real bad illness for adults, so poor him.
Yeah, that's distressing to read about, but
yeah,
it happens. So he is at risk of demotion, depending on how
I
some
think
things
he's
can go.
going to get demoted.
This sucks a bit, but you get a 4-11 at Mega Seer 13.
Be prepared.
Be prepared.
And obviously, you're not in top division shape.
Yeah.
He just doesn't look it.
And we've got people coming up.
I think he's going to be spending some time with Kageyaki again.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Juryo does seem to be more these days a decided step down.
Yeah, instead of like because of the number of sumo wrestlers lessening. So like they don't have as many recruits coming in. So now Juryo has become like a retirement home. And you just get a few youngins who squeak through and then they just fly right through it. They don't even need to spend time in it. And you get these veterans. It's just the veteran cycle.
Yeah, so if he can do well in Juryo, like if his passive level of sumo is strong enough, he'll be back. If this is a real fade, if this is the putting out to pasture, then
he's going to hang out in the retirement home.
He may just hang out in the retirement home. So if he gets pushed down, there's a chance that they put him on the bottom rung and they say do better.
Right.
But if he gets pushed down, then if he doesn't bob back up quickly, that may be it. I don't like saying that, but this too is sumo.
Yes, somebody must go down.
So, Shonanoumi is next, 8-7. Looked like it was going to be at 11-4, but
just falls apart at the end.
Fell apart a little bit at the end, which is unfortunate. I think he took his foot off the gas when he got that Kachikoshi. It's fine.
It happens.
So there are some blueprints for some really dangerous sumo out of Shonanoumi. So now we already knew that he had a really good defensive strength. He was able to smother power, then use angles to get people out. This tournament, he started winning moving forward.
It was very surprising to me to finally see him use that power that way.
Yes.
I was glad that he did it, but I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, did he change his mind?
So this was something we had said in the past, that Shonanoumi is not using his size to the fullest. That his size was part of his game plan, but it wasn't the weapon that he was using. But now we're seeing him winning going forward and going backwards.
You really shouldn't. Like, I don't think it's bad to be a defensive guy.
It's not.
But you should use every advantage you have, and that's a massive advantage over particularly the guys down here. Yeah. There's a lot of small guys down there.
A lot of smaller guys down here. Also, the thing is that the ability to put pressure in both directions means that you're giving your opponent a very difficult problem.
They don't know what to do.
The thing is that, like, if you're pressuring them, they're like, you can't reverse it against Shonanoumi because then you're playing into his game.
Right.
So then you're stuck moving backwards, and you have to try to figure it out from there.
Exactly. Now, when he was only a backwards guy, it's like, all I got to do is reverse it, and if you could push him out, like like a kuridashi a kuridashi or something like that. Now, you don't know if he's going to push you out or pull you in. And like you said, if you go towards him, he's definitely going to pull. That's his thing. So, smart move on his part.
If you can maintain the strength of his defensive backward sumo and then build the forward, that looks good. Now, these last 3 losses just suck. One of these is Tobizaru.
I think maybe that was the match where I said to myself, man, Tobizaru's pretty good.
Yep. Well,
he was not intimidated by the larger-sized man who also pulls like he does. Tobizaru was like, nah, I got this.
This was a Tobizaru masterclass because Shonanoumi was on his game and Tobizaru just worked through it.
Yeah, it was this match. I remember thinking, wow, Tobizaru just outclassed this guy who really relies on pulling. And he's like, here's how it's done.
Yeah. So there are levels to this game, and 8 and 7 as it comes down, it sort of tempers the potential a little bit, but a lot of the issues that Shonanoumi was running into higher up is that there was sort of a limit to his sumo was being found.
And now he's going to go up, and now he can try to implement that even more because he's going to get tougher opponents, so it's only to his benefit to start using his size.
So, potential for the future. We always like to, it always makes you feel more confident in a wrestler when you're like, okay, you see that? That's how you can do this.
Right. You're always looking for the next thing that you can grasp onto to say, hey, that's an improvement.
That's an improvement.
Hey, that's going to win him matches. Because this whole thing that we're doing is a guessing game. I mean, you really don't know who's going to be the next guy. You got a probability on your side, but people surprise you all the time. And you have to find these things to latch onto to even make a guess.
Speaking of surprises,
let
me show you the secret winner of the November tournament, and that is Chiohsyu.
How does this man not only get 11 and 4, but it was so understated? It was just like there.
This is why all 4 of his losses were in the first week. He was not on any leaderboard.
Yep.
But he gets an 11 and 4. This is the best he has ever done in the top division.
Really?
Ever. 11 and 4 is the best. So, as historic Wily Fox fans, Maria and myself, we have loved Chiohsyu for years.
Right. We were there when he was like mid pack.
There was a while that he was sort of like 8 and 7, 9 and 6ing his way up to like M5, and we're like, he just snuck in, and he was doing so well. Then he fades down in the Jiro, and we're like, we had fun. It's good to see you. Now he comes back. So Chiohsyu has had 4 double-digit wins in his entire career.
Wow. I did not know that.
3 of them were this year.
Wow.
Dude's back.
That's crazy.
Dude is back, and he is hungry, and this 11 and 4 is the best he has done anywhere.
This tells you something about sort of the longevity and hanging in there and having the veteran bag of tricks. Because a lot of these guys that he's fighting are, let's see. We got Asakura who is new. Toki Hayate is new. Takayasu is new. I mean, he's got a lot more skill and experience than most, but Shishi new.
Some of
Onokatsu he lost to, but still.
This
new.
is sort of the asterisk on his wins. Here, I'm just going to show you this chunk right here. So 12 and 3 in May to come up. And then he comes up, and I get really mad because he has a back injury, so he has 5. He loses these 5 in the beginning. Goes back down to Juryo, gets a 10 and 5, and now he gets an 11 and 4, which is the best he's ever done in the top division. And so you had mentioned bag of tricks. He I do not think he won the same way twice.
Wow.
He did slaps, he did grappling, defense, angles.
He threw a Hank in for good measure. So blink, and all of a sudden, everything that you love about Chiohsyu is in one place. It's kind of funny because when they go to do the Banzake, they're going to be like, okay, Chiohsyu got 11 and 4. What are we going to do with this?
Came out of nowhere. So, as you were pointing out, will this level of crazy sumo work in the middle of the pack? Only way to find out is to tune in January.
The nice thing is he will still face some of these. Well, actually, he might not, because Ura in particular is going to go down. So he might be elevated. I don't know. Maybe they'll meet in the middle somewhere. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I think he will fight some of these guys again.
He'll be fighting some of the people in the top 5. He'll be...
Those matches aren't going to go so well.
No, they're not.
But they're going to be fun.
This record was incredibly captivating to me when I was doing all the math. Because like you had said, he would sort of off everyone's radar. You're just like, oh yeah, he's doing well. That's fine. And
Yeah,
like,
I didn't realize it was an 11-4. I thought he
11-4.
finished with a 9-6. Because it just kind of...
Because that's what he always did before.
Right. He just kind of lost track of the physical record.
So, super well done. I am stoked for him in January. It may be a bit of a crashing into the wall, but man,
It'll be fun.
it'll be fun.
Yeah. New year, new energy, new opponents.
Would be great if he went on a tear.
It
Getting
would.
ahead of myself now. Getting ahead of myself. Chiohsyu fan getting ahead of himself.
You were looking for some miracles.
For him, yes.
Yes.
For him. So, somebody else who might need miracles.
He needs a miracle.
Okay, stop me. You've heard this one before. So Nishikigi is now 6-9 and is mathematically about to go into Jiryo.
Think he holds?
Time will tell.
I mean, they're going to have fun dumping Toki Hayate and Shishi.
Yeah, so we'll do the math in a little bit, but basically he's on the chopping block. And what sucks is that it was another fought well butt for Nishikigi.
Well, he's just so beat, and he's beat up, and he's small. He has nothing working for him at this point. Like, I there wouldn't even be any advice to give besides just don't die out there.
Yeah, don't die. But he still fights. He still fights like small man, big man.
Yeah.
He uses angles. He grapples. He fights for his life every day. But it's not turning out in his favor. So some good news. If he actually does go down to Jiryo, he gets wins over Asakuryu and gets wins over Shishi.
He'll be seeing him again in Jiryo.
So those are 2 wins he'll have again. Mm-hmm. And if as we mentioned before, Jiryo, the quality of sumo in Jiryo, well, I would like to say more accurately that the quality of sumo in the top division is being elevated.
Yes.
So it's not like Jiryo's getting worse. It's just that it's a bigger gulf.
Well, and because it's getting so much better in the top division, those guys are getting sent into Jiryo.
Yes.
So it's tempering the waters a bit.
So the hope is that Nishikigi, who's been able to mostly scrape by in the very bottom, will be fine in Jiryo and will make his way back.
Which is what he did last time.
Yes.
He went on a tear as soon as he got into Jiryo.
So if he doesn't go down, it's hilarious because he should be, but he's not. If he does go down, not to worry because he'll likely be back because I don't think Jiryo is going to hold him down. He's just not good enough for the top division by a hair. Anyway, hate to see it, but Nishikigi...
It is what it is.
It is what it is. We'll go with that one. Somebody who does belong in the top division, Onokatsu, with a 9-6.
I was very impressed by his sumo.
This is one of the most dramatic turnarounds, basho to basho, I've seen in recent memory. So Onokatsu was 7-8 in September, struggling out of his depth, barely got the 7-8 on sheer grit and desperation, clearly a step behind all these people in the top division. Fast forward to a 7-1 Onokatsu, who beats Abi, who beats Takayasu, but then gets thrown Wakatakakage, Takanosho, and just can't get it together all that way.
Right. I mean, he's still so fresh that going up against Wakatakakage is just such an uphill climb.
They threw him to the lions on that one.
But he impressed me because he's way stronger than I realized. I don't know. There was something about him that I'm like, okay. I think you just need to see guys like this against the tougher opponents.
I think also September was all nerves.
Yeah.
He comes to November, he's like, okay, I know what to expect now.
I understand this a little better.
I understand the assignment.
Yeah, exactly. And, once again, September stunk, so we'll just say that he had some bad vibes on him.
Bad vibes. So him and Shishi had a wild match on day 3, which is sort of shades of things to come. That him and Shishi are going back and forth. That was the one that they do like the crazy, I stagger you, and then you stagger me back, and then Onokatsu staggers him back.
It was like, this is the way I'm going to describe it, even though this is what happened. It's almost like a slap thing that you see on TV where you slap the guy one way, then he comes back and slaps you, and that's what it felt like as they were tussling back and forth.
It was a crazy, almost sitcom-y kind of a fight.
Yes, or like a comic sumo fight.
Comic sumo, yes. So he had some really, really good defenses also against Takayasu. Takayasu had him good. Onokatsu holds.
I think that was the match where I was like, okay, like if you can do this with Takayasu,
yes,
then you're a lot stronger than I realized.
This goes both ways. For one, for Onokatsu to beat Takayasu with the belt grip on the edge really says that Onokatsu wants to win, has good defense, and then found a way to get out of there.
Yep.
And then for Takayasu to say he's no longer Ozeki Aura
if he's going to lose to Onokatsu.
He's going to lose to Onokatsu. So it sort of goes both ways.
Yeah.
But this opening chunk and just the way he fought, much more confidence. It's that X factor.
Yeah, you need time to cook.
Yeah.
You know, when you first make it up to the top division, it's the wild, wild west. So
it is. So I am very interested, very, very, very interested in his January because of how quickly he turned that around.
I mean, he could do some things to make January interesting.
He can.
I mean, he did appear on that leaderboard briefly.
Briefly. The fact just being on that leaderboard is crazy.
Exactly.
So I am optimistic. We'll see where the struggles get him, but if he can turn around a struggle with that level of confidence.
Yeah, just some people take a little bit more time than, say, an Onosato.
Yeah.
He's somebody you might be looking at future success.
Future success.
Maybe
How far?
A year or two?
How far he goes is up to him, but he's got potential, and
yeah, keep your eye on him.
Keep an eye on him. He may be going places. Unfortunately, Toki Hayate is going places, and that is back to Jiraiya again.
He's just not quite skilled enough to hang.
I'm so upset because Toki Hayate, he's a fun, small grappler.
That's what it is. He's small. The grappling is tight, but he's so small that if he's not perfect, they can just freaking tear him apart.
It's a combination of he's not fast and decisive enough, so people have that window to counter it, and he's just so small.
Yeah, like he's got to be the smallest. He's smaller than Midorifuji for sure.
He's a teeny tiny guy.
And that's the very exciting thing about no weight classes in sumo, but it's also the thing that
it's a bit rough.
It kind of keeps the small guys out.
Yeah. So the last time he got knocked down, he came right back, which is optimistic. So, he didn't come right back, actually. Never mind. Pull that back. But if Jiraiya can't keep him down, you know what I mean?
Right. He'll be back.
He'll be back. I don't know how many times it's going to take him before it sticks. I want more of him. He's fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some room for these. There's a bunch of small guys. Like Asakura is a small guy. Midorifuji,
It can work.
That we might get a small group if they can figure out a way to win. Enho, really paved the way for these guys.
He's doing well. I think he was 6-1 this tournament.
Yeah, he's going to definitely go up to the next level. Where is he now?
Let's find out. Give him a minute while I do it this way.
Yeah, there's so many ways.
Da, 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 da.
There he is. Oh, he's West Sadanoumi, 56.
So
okay.
6-1 will get him
up closer, but
probably where Hayatifuji is right now, right here.
Yeah, he was close to winning the Yusho, and then that was that.
Yep. So he'll be in Sadanoumi probably in January, and then I'll put him in Makushita in March, and then he's stuck in Makushita for as long as that is. Makushita seems to be where
you can fly up,
and we're also where the returners will sometimes stall out a little bit.
I think Makushita. Yeah. No, it wasn't Makushita. Never mind. There was one tournament that Takakesho was not the champion, but I don't think it was Makushita.
It's also super rough because you get one loss. Because if you get that 7-0, then you get pole vaulting. But if you it's even a 6-1, it's like more of a.
They just kind of kick you right back down.
Yeah, it's a bit rough.
It's real rough in Makushita.
But in any case, Enho will be back maybe the end of the year, 2025, if he keeps pace.
Feels like a long time.
It does, but I'm also imagining all the people who've never seen Enho get to see Enho.
I know. I feel bad for those who started sumo after Enho. They never got to watch Tochinoshin and Enho. I mean, how great were those days?
We'll get them again. So, next up, Shishi. 5-10.
I have to say that I had no desire to be like Goose in terms of ragging on this guy, but man, his sumo's
He fights big.
rough sumo,
He fights
man.
awkwardly.
He's awkward and his form is terrible. It's blatantly obvious how terrible it is. I don't know if the issue is he can't actually bend his knees, but like he's upright every single match, and like he is the guy who manages to lose when he's about to win the match and loses it because his form is so terrible.
There's somewhere in there are the makings of like an aggressive powerhouse.
Yes,
guy.
there's something to work with.
He's just so huge.
I know, but it's like there's been guys before that were huge that.
Well, I
guess none of them were that good. So
this is him finding out that this is how far just being big will get you.
And the thing is, maybe sumo's not the right sport. You know what I mean? Like, he's done well enough, so it's hard to say, like, you should quit. But what I'm saying is sumo is very, very technical. And this guy in certain sports would just dominate everybody. Yet in sumo, he's going to struggle for those same exact reasons.
Maria, this is one tournament in the top division.
I know, but his form was so bad that I was like, okay, he's really got to go back. Like, the reason you could see it is because you could see the comparison to everyone he fought.
Yeah.
It's not because I'm looking at him like, wow, look at he stinks. It was blatantly obvious how much more upright he was than every single one of his opponents. And that's something that if you don't fix, you'll just lose.
So he comes up. Some may have predicted a very bad score.
I did not, for the record.
They were the number. Some could argue that the numbers were not correct. If you look at it on day 15, Goose clearly says it was a 5 and 10. But this is from a larger perspective. Here comes a new prospect who was doing well for himself enough to get to the top division, and then finds, like you'd said before, here's the Wild West. So now he's being escorted out of the building with a to-do list of things to work on.
Yep, just tape it right to his chest.
Right to his chest. Here the thing, don't even talk to us again until you do these things.
Yes.
So he does those things. It will be interesting.
Well, I mean, he has the potential to have a Tochinoshin-like career. Tochinoshin must have struggled. We weren't watching early Tochinoshin. He must have struggled because it is hard to bend all the way down like that. And one of the things I saw Shishi do that was like alarming, but reminded me of Tochinoshin, is like really fighting on the edge, but he's getting pushed back.
He did some great defense.
Yeah, so if he can figure out how to use his size, because let's give him some credit for all the bad things I've said. I never seen him lean. He wasn't a leaner.
This is what's interesting about him, and also why he was sort of condemned to relegation. So for Tochinoshin, earlier on, belt.
Yeah.
He could be upright as he wants. It doesn't matter because he's going to pick you up.
Right, and you're done.
And then you have other taller people who did a lot of leaning, your Ichinojos, your Hokusehos, and they just sort of just imposed their size on people. Now, for Ichinojo, he had a little bit more of that going on.
Yeah, the man was massive.
He was massive. Also, he did have some technical skills, and he was also like one of those up-and-coming hotshots.
Right, he was a prodigy when he showed up.
He was a prodigy when he showed up. So not so for Shishi. So because Shishi is very push, I think he did get a belt and drive, but he's very forward focused.
He's like a tall Tobizaru. Like he's all shifting all around the ring, and he's trying to do a lot.
Yeah, we have small people who fight big. Here's a big guy
who fights small,
but doesn't know how to fight small yet.
Right. So with the right training and sort of figuring out exactly his style, and that's why that may be a cliche thing, but that's so important to know what your style is. He has potential.
Yeah.
But it's rough. This is a rough deal.
That may be my takeaway from this. Shishi doesn't know what his identity is. His identity is being big, which
isn't enough in sumo.
Not enough.
Well, because there's a personality factor, right? Ichinojo was somewhat content to impose his way. Shishi doesn't seem to be that kind of person. but he can't help the fact that he's big.
Yeah.
So, like, if he was a small guy, he might be really, really exciting. A big guy who's, like, trying to play the small man game looks weird.
Looks awkward.
So, there is potential, but it's going to take, like, I'm not saying, hey, in a year. I'm talking, like, 3 years, but we'll see.
I don't see him getting back to the top division very quickly.
No.
If he does, it'll be an interesting surprise, and I'll be wondering what he fixed.
Right, something really good happened.
I think, like, we see a glimpse of him. We have our laughs because he's goofy, and then he's gonna go back to slumming it in Juryo for a little while. Maybe he figures something out. Maybe he doesn't. Then we'll see him again.
I mean, I want to root for him. I don't have the disdain that some have. I have the shock of, whoa, this guy has a lot to work on, but because of that, I really want to see him figure it out.
Yeah.
I want to see him do well.
I will agree. It's been a while since we've seen somebody so roughly hewn.
That got into the top division. Usually you just don't see the rough guys.
You don't see the rough guys.
They never
much.
make it. And so it was shocking. I'm not going to lie. I was just like, like watching a car accident.
By the by, if you want to see some true sumo passion, you look for that rough hewn stuff. You go see the lower division matches. You go see some guys who are just absolutely horrible at sumo fight with every ounce of their being. Mm-hmm. It is a fascinating thing.
Yeah.
It also helps make this top stuff put into context.
Right.
Because you realize exactly how good you are to be here.
Exactly.
And the Shishi is not that good.
But he's big.
Hey! Sometimes, whatever you make it work. Anyway, yeah. Shishi, good to see you.
Maybe we'll see you in a couple of years.
Well, yeah.
I don't know if it'll be that long.
September 2025.
September? Okay. Pin this.
Maybe November.
Okay.
If he comes back sooner, I'm like, right.
Happened? Something great happened.
Maybe got lucky. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Anyway, on to Takarafuji. 10-5. I'll remind people that 10-5 is still good. People came out of him like they were in the beginning of the tournament. They were talking like he was going to win the Yusho again. I'm like, no.
I knew there was no chance. So much has changed since he was in the top division. And timing is everything. And the reason he won the Yusho, now I'm not trying to take anything away from him. People were not ready for that explosive Tachi. It caught them off guard. That only works once. Period. Ichinojo had a tournament where he almost won the whole thing, shocking everybody. His slapdown was just so powerful they couldn't. It's almost a gimmick of itself. With that said, Takarafuji is a powerful, strong, like, this dude is going places, but this is a first tournament back. Like, this wasn't the time. The time wasn't right.
He was not hitting with the same blistering power that he did when he was here in March.
He's got to be at least a little afraid of the injury.
I think he realized that while it got him the Yusho, it also got him injured. To sort of pour the afterburners like he did.
Especially for 15 days. Like, maybe you do it in one match.
So he's, whether it is fear of injury, whether it was nerves, or whether he realized that he can't go 110% for 15 days, he didn't hit as hard, and that's where Toki Hayate and Shonanoumi were able to get those wins in the beginning. So, again, 10-5, he's going places. That kind of power he has, his sumo instincts, he's going to keep rising.
Well, especially if you're like, 10-5 was a bad tournament for you.
No, guys.
Come on, no. Now, the Onosato match, I found to be fascinating, right? Everybody was pumped for that match, and then it didn't go the way people expected. It was over pretty quick. But I think there's a lot you can actually speak about. Takarafuji hit Onosato as hard as he could, and Onosato sort of absorbed it. But he was off balance. As he pushed Takarafuji out, his feet were coming up. So he did rock Onosato. And that is something to just sort of think about later. If you rock the right spot, if he got underneath him, that match is over.
That's how Wakatakakage beat Onosato. That's how Takanosho beat Onosato. There is a way to beat Onosato.
And Takarafuji could be the exact guy that would give him trouble every time. He's just got to sort of settle in again.
Takarafuji did beat Onosato in March, but that was because Onosato was not expecting it, and Takarafuji was hitting him as hard as he physically could.
Right. Like, he was beyond a sumo wrestler in that tournament that he won.
Yes.
He was just so crazy out of his mind that you can't replicate that. No one can replicate that. You can be great 2 tournaments in a row, but he was just so perfect. To even land the Tachi as perfectly as he did each time, that does not happen like that. So it was sort of like a really talented, awesome guy, and everything aligned properly.
It was the Cinderella story.
Yes.
And it happened. It was there. It was beautiful.
It can't be repeated.
No. Safe to say, I think everybody who watches sumo is interested to see where Takarafuji goes next.
Absolutely.
So.
And he's going to be okay. He's just got to settle.
He's going to be fine. He's going to be more than fine.
Yeah. He's going to be up there competing with the best at some point.
Longer than you may think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible.
I
mean, if you're trying to avoid injury, which is a very viable, important thing to do, because otherwise you retire at 28.
Yes.
It may take him a while to adjust his style.
There will be a style adjustment.
Yeah, and there's growing pains with that.
I am interested to see how he takes to the top 5.
Oh, me too. I think we're all just waiting until we get to see the good matches.
The good matches. Because that's going to be the real medal of Takarafuji.
Right. How do you do against the top guys?
Here's Daieisho. Here's Ura. Here's Kirishima.
Hoshoryu. Kotozakura.
All of a sudden, that Undertaker's not looking so hot.
Yeah, but he's got time.
Or Kotozakura gets knocked on his ass.
I know.
Right?
It's possible. He's so powerful he could do it.
Uh-huh.
But he's just got to take care of himself. You know, pick your moments to just destroy a person. Don't waste it on Shonanoumi, for instance. Do not waste that Tachi and Shonanoumi. So when he's way up top, then we can really talk about real strategy.
It'd be interesting. He's sort of a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, he is. He's somebody who has the potential to be really great or be really great and fizzle out really quick.
I am concerned about that, but it's very possible.
Think about the Tochinoshin phenomenon. I mean, he was so dominant, and he wins the Yusho, he brings himself to Ozeki, and it was just a short time. But he was so good. I just hope that isn't the case for Takarafuji.
That is up to him.
Yep. And luck, a little bit.
There's always luck.
Always luck for everybody.
Luck is a skill, guys.
Luck is a skill. I agree.
Next up, Asakoryu. 6 and 9. This hurts me. I became an Asakoryu fan immediately.
So did I. And, I had no opinion of him coming in because I don't watch anybody in Juryo, really. So I know everyone was hyped on. I'm like, okay, cool. I start to pay attention once you're in top division. I'm like, he's so good.
He's fun.
If only he wasn't so small.
He's tiny. He's jacked. He moves everywhere. He's so aggressive.
He is. His energy flies through the screen. You're like, yes, sumo, yes. When he's in a match, it's just like, if only you weren't so small.
So similar issues to Toki Hayate. People know how to deal with that.
Yep.
So his dynamic strength, his power, people either outmaneuvered him, they got out of the way of it, or they're like, well, you're still small.
Right. Every time someone like Asakoryu walks into the ring, the other guy is thinking, look at this chibi. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to let this dude beat me. And so you're already at a disadvantage that they think they're better than you. So that's a little sad for him. But he is super cool.
All of his wins were going forward. All of them were aggression.
Wow. Even the Meisei win.
Yeah, there might have been some like pivoting and stuff like that, but it was all generating offense. It was all, I want this.
You got to appreciate a guy who knows that every single match he's out muscled and he's just like, I'm going forward.
Dude, he's jacked though. Oh my God. Somebody, I think it was
little Ishiura there.
That's what JJ had clued me into. I'm like, oh my God, he's reincarnated.
I miss Ishura so much. Maybe that's why Asakoryu immediately touched me.
I think there's a connection there, but I'm not going to take anything from Asakoryu because he fought really well, but just sorry.
We talk about it all the time, and we haven't even had to yet. There's a world's of difference between Juryo and the top division.
It's a gulf. But I think the way he fought, the way he was hungry for it, it's not if he comes back, it's when.
Right. He might go down to Juryo and just be so much better because he's like, you guys are nothing compared
Absorbed
to...
all of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Like for Shishi, it's like, will he come back?
Ooh.
Maybe September, or maybe he just takes 2 years. Keep in mind also, people that we already know are good can be stuck in Juryo.
Absolutely.
Like somebody who's going to be coming up very, very soon. Hakuoho.
Finally.
So, things happen in Juryo.
Yeah, things do happen in Juryo.
Anyway.
Just sometimes takes a little time.
A little bit. And Asakura, please come back to us. I'm not done with you yet.
Yes.
I'm not done. So, somebody else I hope comes back, but I do not know. Bushozan. So had this awful 0-5 run where he just looked like he was lethargic and barely there. Then we find out he has hand, foot, and mouth disease.
Right, which is Kawasaki. That's like the actual name is Kawasaki, but it's often called hand, foot, and mouth disease just to make it easier,
Yep.
I guess.
In
children, it's rough, but in adults, it's super bad. Like, it's like a thing you do not want to get as an adult, so...
Yeah, those are the parts of your body that are in pain all the time.
Exactly. And you're already a guy, I mean, he's a large, we've talked about this, he's larger than Takakesho was. He's carrying a lot of weight. So this sort of illness would just drag him down. He's lucky he won a couple matches.
So, yes. When he came back initially, and I didn't know why he left. I had assumed it was injury. I'm like, don't come back and make yourself worse. But these last 2 wins here, now Tamawashi and Ryuden. Well, Ryuden say what you want.
Tamawashi was still giving it.
He was still giving it a little. This was the old Bushozan. So like when he came back here, he was healthy enough to fight in the way that we enjoyed him before. So like these final two, I was glad. I was like, oh, it's a nice little farewell present. We get the old Bushozan, and he fought, and he did pretty well here. So the only optimism I have for effectively a 3-12 is that the person who was doing okay in the top division is still in there. So when he's down in Juryo like 8,
he should be able to rise again.
It may take him a couple tournaments to come back to us, but there's hope that he does.
There could only be room for one Takakesho, apparently.
Well,
they wouldn't allow him to stay.
Well, the 3-12, there are no miracles.
No, there's no.
There are no miracles you can call in to stay in the top division on the lowest rung.
Yeah, just bad luck.
Unfortunate, but better luck next time, Bushozan. Hopefully you're better through that disease that was just ugh.
He might come up with Shishi, like
he might
September,
that's
November.
The timing. So that's the top. For special prizes, the outstanding performance went to Abi.
Well deserved.
The fighting spirit went to Takanosho. He needed to win his last match against Wakatakakage to get it, and he did. So props to him.
Yep.
And then the technique prize went to Wakatakakage.
I think that was a really good batch of winners at the end.
Yes. So all three of them were in contention at some point and fell out of it.
Yep. Everybody felt quite deserved.
Everybody thought well of them. For Takanosho, it was definitely you're probably not getting Sanyaku, so we wanted to give you something.
Yeah.
And then for these two, it was, we're going to give you something before you're in Sanyaku. And I don't think you can get a special prize in Sanyaku.
You can get
I know you can't get a Kimboshi.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't
Maybe
know
not.
if you can get special prizes or not.
But in any case, I'd say all three were well-deserved.
Yeah.
And all three people who showed some really good sumo and who also beat Ozeki.
Right. They all deserved what they got, and it's a nice little bow at the end of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they get stingy and they don't give anybody anything.
Or like they kept giving Onosato special prizes, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah,
You got
like
the Yusho, leave him alone.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why does he have to get 3 special prizes and the Yusho and Ozeki promotion? Come on.
Well, in any case.
Leave something for everybody else.
Share the wealth. Take a quick look at Juryo. Kim Bozan wins the Juryo Yusho.
Encouraging.
Very encouraging. Also showing that he is not having any of this second division nonsense.
Right. Maybe this will give him the confidence of, you know what? I don't like this. I'm a top division man. Give me my spot.
Give me my spot. So he's coming up. Kitanowaka with a 9 and 6 is coming back up.
Mm-hmm.
Kageyaki with a 9 and 6 is coming back up.
Wow, Ryuden's probably going down and Kageyaki's coming up.
They're just trading the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
Hakuoho with a 10 and 5 is coming up.
Now that's exciting for me. I've been waiting a long time. I'm nervous, obviously.
He was slumming it for a while. He had all sorts of issues. I'm wondering if the shoulder surgery, maybe he has to relearn some things.
Well, in the interview with the Issei Hamabeya, he brought up the surgery and the changing of stables. So for him to, it's literally only a 15-second conversation. So for both of those things to come up, it means they must really have been.
It was a real big issue because Hakuoho was, I think, the highest ranked person in Miyagino.
Yeah.
There was a lot of responsibility on him to sort of help with the transition.
Right. Maybe there was some guilt over what happened.
A lot of responsibility to put on the guy in his super early 20s, and he's in the center of the scandal, and he did so well.
And he just had a surgery.
So he was going through it.
Right. And you really can't underestimate that extra stuff. Think about it in your own life. You know, something bad happens to you. Do you do so great at work?
No.
You're like, nah, I'm probably not going to answer these 20 emails or whatever.
You start coasting.
So hopefully this is a start of some positive to come.
Yeah. So number 5, potentially, is Tamashoho with a 10 and 5.
A lot of people are rooting for this.
And so, because he's Juryo 4, this mathematically puts him in the top division. So that's 5 people maybe up. We scroll a little further down and we see Tsurugisho and Tsurugisho and Shiden. Now they're Juryo 6 and 7. I don't think they'll be up.
And if Tsurugisho had pulled off that Yusho,
he would have been up.
Yeah.
100%. So about 5 people may be going down. I bring up Shiden and Tsurugisho in case they want to dump a 6th.
Okay, so who do we got for 5?
Giving this a quick look. 1, done. 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's nice and easy.
Nice and easy. Ryuden now the X Factor.
Right. If they want to get rid of Ryuden.
If they want to get rid of Ryuden, he's number 6. If they want to spare Nishikigi, they get rid of Ryuden instead.
And then Nishikigi gets another hold.
Another 6 and 9 hold.
If they do that, I'm going to laugh. I mean, they have the ability to do it with this current situation.
Yes. So that's why the 5-6 math comes in. And that's also why Sadanoumi is probably safe and why everybody above 13 is...
I have a feeling that they are unlikely to promote a Juryo 6 or 7. It's more likely that they let Nishikigi stay and dump Ryuden.
Mm-hmm. Probably. 6 and 9, baby!
Oh, this is amazing. We'll have to see, but it seems kind of likely to me.
The math is mathin'.
The math is mathin'.
So, that is what it will look like. That is the end of Sumo for 2024.
It was a wild ending to a year that had so much happen. And I think this was the perfect way to end the sumo year.
Very, very solid promise for a better year from November.
Some, like, not to trash on the formers, because one was my favorite wrestler of all time, but it feels like we have real Ozeki with real potential to become Yokozuna. They better stay healthy, man. I'm going to flip tables.
They're young. They're relatively injury-free. They have a lot of potential.
They're stable.
And now they're winning Yushos.
Exactly. So this, for now, be very positive and happy for the future until something tells you otherwise. Once again, 42 Opinions business. If you want a live stream on Wednesday night, you must comment. I need to see comments because it's extra work for me, and if I think no one's going to show up, I'm not going to do it. So comment in the comment section, please. Thank you.
Guess the Banzuke will be sometime in December. I know the Banzuke comes out on Christmas Day, if I remember correctly.
Oh, that's right. So it would be the week before.
It depends when Guess the Banzuke
puts their deadline.
I'm guessing the deadline's going to be the 24th, but it's usually a week before, which may be the 18th.
Okay.
So maybe the 17th.
Okay.
All
right.
Maybe. We'll have to...
We'll let you know once we see the official stuff. Go to the community tab. That's where I talk to you people. I can't emphasize it enough. It's the only way to communicate at this point.
Alrighty. That's quite a lot of everything.
Yeah. How long was this one,
3
Joe?
hours.
Okay. So almost Return of the King again.
Almost.
That's what the fans demand.
Yeah, well, there's a lot happened.
A lot to talk about.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us.
We'll see you soon.